Sam, if I could just get the sentence out. We can talk about Jimmy Dore can go and kill 15 kids tomorrow, and I still believe in force the vote. Sam, if I could just get the sentence out. We can talk about Jimmy Dore can go and kill 15 kids tomorrow, and I still believe in force the vote.
They're not accountable to anyone. I get 10 to 12 million views a month, and they won't come out and address my progressive audience. They won't come out and address Brie's audience, or Katie's audience, or Justin Jackson, or you. They are not accountable to us. They're accountable to whoever the fuck, themselves. Let's not kid ourselves. As Chris Hedges taught us a long time ago, the people attracted to politics are most mediocre of people. They're not your friends. They are elected servants, and start fucking treating them that way.
I hear brownies. I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
They're the people standing in between us and fucking healthcare. They're putting their fucking personal position ahead of that. Don't fucking forget that.
So stupid. Thank you. Yeah. So stupid. I'm talking about anybody who's a progressive in Congress who isn't endorsing hashtag the vote. All those motherfuckers who didn't show up today at our town hall.
Mr. Sam, if I could just get the sentence out. We can talk about Jimmy Dore can go and kill 15 kids tomorrow, and I still believe in force the vote.
Yo, is this thing on? Holy shit. Is this thing on, man? Holy hell. Alright, everyone. Alright. So, I bring to you some cringe. That's what I believe we are going to be watching today, everybody. This is Above It All. This is a nighttime stream. I don't normally stream at the nighttime, but, you know, I'm streaming at the night. So, I have been requested to watch the full debate. So I made a couple videos, about snippets from this little fiasco. And a bunch of people were like, you didn't watch the full thing. You took their clips out of context. That's what they told me. They were like, how can you say that a debate happened a certain way if you only watched half of it? Out of context. And I admit, all right, that's fair. So I posed a question to my audience. Well, I can watch this debate, or I could not watch this debate, or I could watch it on a stream. And so we can do a live commentary. And I got an overwhelming, resounding yes. My dark money donors, whom I'm currently grifting off of, as my current position in the boutique left, they have funded this operation. They've said that they're willing to give me some super chats. They're willing to give me some dark money funding. They're willing to hook me up with some dark money. So I'm getting some Humana or fucking Blue Cross or whatever. I'm getting some dark money funneled into my live stream. And so I'm going to watch this on 1.25x. And let's go.
All right, let's go live. We are live.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Let me know if the audio is good. We are
now being joined by the one and only Sam Seder, who's in the waiting room. I see you guys all in the comments. I want this to be a camaraderie evening, so please keep that in mind.
I don't.
frame
I don't.
I'd like to say thank you to my secret sponsor, my dark money sponsor, Ian Kinzel. $5. Keep grifting off me and don't stop.
All right, let's do this.
Virgil,
Hey,
I could hear you. I could hear you, Virgil. I heard what you said.
I'm gonna skip the
Hi,
fight.
Brie. What do you mean? Like
No,
like,
I mean you've been sitting in that chair.
I mean, it feels like it. It definitely feels like it.
I've been here all
much
day.
as I
today,
love
it feels
fluff,
Man,
this is
is trapped
3
in the
hours.
majority of the force,
like.
too.
Indeed. Here, let me see if I can I can sort of just get a slightly different look here. You can box that out like that, right? That's
Oh, right, because it's not your show.
Right.
Yeah, you're in our zone right now, brother. I feel the least about the force vote stuff. So maybe you want to flip.
Thank you,
me
JL,
and,
for the
Sam,
$10.
so I'm at the bottom of the screen.
I don't know how to do. Oh, wait a minute. Oh.
Oh yeah.
Jeez.
Right. So then I'm more splitting the difference between the two of us and you.
Yes, Virgil's our judge.
I feel like Sam Seder's being introduced to StreamYard for the first time, and that's pretty funny.
Ben, really quick, did producer Ben want to do something with this? Or run the stream or something like that? Or?
No, everything's going as planned, Virgil. So
okay, everything's going as planned. Okay.
This has been my favorite part, is listening to you guys squabble beforehand.
we're ready to go. Virgil's going to play a moderator of sorts. But I want to start just by asking you, Sam, the name of our show is Bad Faith. And so I want to get your sense of where the bad faith breakdown came in the midst of this entire force the vote debate. Because I will say, I first heard of it from you on your show. The very first time I heard of the idea was from you, and you were, giving it plaudits at the time. And I thought, well, if Sam Seder likes this thing and it's a Jimmy Dore idea, then it must be something I should look into more closely. So what happened?
Well, I think if I remember correctly, that's sort of how I presented it when we talked about it. And if I remember correctly, what I felt was at the time, and I remember the original video that Jimmy did about it, where he was talking like, there was a spirit of of camaraderie, I guess, on some level.
If I'm allowed, I would love to put this at 1.5x.
And at the time, I said, this sounds like a good idea to leverage the vote for something. Mm-hmm. And I think if I remember correctly, don't hold me to this, but maybe I probably should have checked that video. But I'm pretty sure I said at the time, I'm not sure that Medicare for All vote is the best idea. You might want something like committees or something like that. But the idea of leveraging the vote, I thought was a good one. And I think at the time, I may have said on the video or not, my feeling was like, I'm going to look into it. I'm going to ask around a little bit if this is.
Hey, Gary, thanks for the $10.
And if they're looking for something else.
Kills people.
And after that,
would honestly make him a little.
I'm pretty sure I have the sequence
an interesting
correct.
Character.
I did ask a couple of people I know who are sort of.
Ian Kinzel, $5. Drinking game. Brianna Joy Gray interrupts Sam, complains when Sam interrupts her. Be safe, everyone. Be safe.
But not necessarily directly involved in that, but sort of peripherally involved and might have known about that. And I heard they were going.
By the way, I got a settlement for getting run over by a truck, so I got money. Woo-hoo. That's actually really cool to hear, Ian. So I've got this link that I'm going to show you. And again, this is just a great link. This link will be able to guide you in your newly acquired future. So just throwing that out there.
For other stuff, I think ultimately that turned out to be the PAYGO thing. And I don't think after that I said anything about it, because I still felt like it's not a bad idea to, inject this notion of leveraging the vote. And so I think
sorry, go ahead.
And then I think it wasn't until I saw Jimmy turn it into, the next thing I saw about it was Jimmy doing a video saying that AOC was the thing that was the person that was standing between us and Medicare for All. She was a sellout. She was a fraud.
So I just want to say this is basically the timeline here. I've been having a lot of fun covering this saga. It's been a lot of fun because 1, I've made a lot of money. 2, I've gotten a lot of new subscribers. 3, that's a really funny freeze frame. 4, because it really reminds me of like in the summer covering the cue, as in when you're playing pool, you got the cue ball, right? It reminds me of those things. And so it's like very similar, all the tracks. So I was like, all right, I'll cover this. And that's why I'm still here covering this. But, it's just really funny how quickly it turned into just like a really weird conspiracy network.
And I realized like, oh.
Okay, so Sam, just to clarify, I want to clarify. You said you talked to some people who were peripherally related, who said that they didn't think that force of vote was a good idea.
Well, no, it wasn't they didn't think that force of vote was a good idea. It was more like I was checking around to see if there's other things that are being leveraged. And there was, and the answer I got was yes. And the, you know, and I think I had conversations with people who were like, you know, what happens after let's presume for a moment that, and one of the things, you know, I had trouble with subsequent to it was just sort of like, what are the mechanics of this? Like exactly like what is the, what follows from the force of the vote? And at that point I decided, okay, not a great idea, but I'm not going to, I'm a very much a, you know, let 1,000 flowers bloom type of guy.
Are you able to tell us any more about who it was you were talking to?
No, but it's not earth shattering. It's, you know, it's very peripheral people. And, you know, we all have our sources. Some are on the record, some are off. And
Sam's in a group DM with Bernie Sanders.
But I can tell you this, I will say this, just for the sake of your audience, it was not AOC and it was not anyone at MSNBC. So there's the two sort of like,
well, because Sam, there are, I mean, I don't.
By the way, I'm very tempted to scroll down and look at the comments. I'm told the comments are amazing, but I don't want to be distracted from the beautiful substance, right? But I'm told the comments are amazing. Reminder, people, like, literally, I get inundated with comments from people saying, you're a boutique leftist. Why are you so rich? Do you get paid by Blue Cross Blue Shield? And it's like, bitch, like, I'm sitting in a closet somewhere, right? Like, I'm like, hello, I look fucking scrawny. I look like I can't even feed myself. Like, are you telling me I'm some boutique fucking, like, come on, give me a break here. But, so, I mean, if people are harassing me, some nobody on YouTube, I mean, I can only imagine what they're sending at these people.
I don't know whether to credit this or not. But I read some of the comments on YouTube, on Facebook, and some people were saying that, on Twitter rather,
1.5x,
that there was they had sources that suggested that there were some
increase.
folks in Congress or on their staffs that wanted to kill the force of vote movement. And I just, wasn't sure if it was someone affiliated with the Congress person or not.
No.
Okay. So the question about step 2, I think, is that I'm glad you brought that up, because I think the point at which it became kind of bad faith from my perspective was largely around folks who are making this argument that we don't know what step 2 is, right? And to me, it's obvious. You withhold the vote in exchange for any number of concessions, which it's always been, my argument has always been, it's a floor vote on Medicare for all, because I think that's what draws the greatest amount of spectacle. And it's an issue that is number one in the minds of Americans right now.
So I just want to say this. This has been my general thought process over the last, period of time. So Brianna Joy Gray wants to go against the media, right? So she wants to basically, and again, we all saw the organized event that happened in early January. So 15 people versus the media apparatus of corporate America. All right, well, interesting. Tell me more about that idea. So what's your most recent work? You're a comms expert. She's going to say this a lot in this debate. She's a comms expert. Okay, so you're a comms expert. What was your last gig as a comms expert? Oh, it was Bernie Sanders, when we were the front runner of the Democratic primary, and we just won the first 3 states, and instead of building on that momentum, we got stuck in a loop talking about Castro all week. Oh. All right, so you were working for the front runner, someone that the media is forced to cover in depth. You lost? Okay. All right. So now you want to tell me that your 15 little group of people sitting on the Capitol steps is going to go up against the media when the media has no reason to even talk about them? So, even if they force the vote, okay, then all on mainstream media, it's going to be AOC and Squad are obstructionist. And then, of course, the insurrection would happen, right? Which, some people didn't know something like that would happen. All right. I thought it was pretty obvious, but okay. And then, we don't have a Nancy Pelosi that we're doing, instead of doing impeachment or anything like that was actually interesting or actually going to do anything, or instead of working on the COVID relief or whatever, right? Instead of doing something, the mainstream media would just report, AOC and the Squad are obstructing. We can't even get the speaker in. So, it's just a dumb strategy. It's just all around, it's a dumb strategy. I don't necessarily mind the idea, but dying on the hill, it's dumb. I'm sorry, it's really dumb.
2 million people have just lost their employer-based healthcare in the middle of this crisis. We all know how exigent the issue is. But in addition to that, as soon as David Sirota put out his excellent article about what all the other asks could be, including getting rid of Richie Neal, including getting rid of PAYGO in its entirety. I said yes, and I included all of those asks and linked to Sorita's article in the article that I wrote very early on, I think in mid-December. And so it was always about a lot of asks, including the ones that you just said were going to be the priority instead of Medicare for all. So if the issue is step 2, then that would be the same if you're asking for these narrow PAYGO exemptions that they got, and it would be the same as we were asking for more, right? So it seemed to me that the what is step 2, which is what AOC said to Justin Jackson, right, in that Twitter thread. That's where the tone shifted from my perspective. When AOC weighed in that Twitter thread and offered up a bunch of responses that didn't seem especially credible. What is step 2? We just have to fight for a $15 minimum wage. That's priority. That's when the tone shifted away from the progressive caucus more broadly, and Mark Pocan specifically, to why is it that we're kind of being fed what feels like a misdirection? And is this really a crisis, a tactical disagreement, or is this a crisis of political will or something else going on here, deals being made that don't necessarily inure to the benefit of the voting public?
Well, let me just address those in order. I mean, one, I take exception with the 2 premises that you start off with. One, that a vote of 300 approximately, let's assume the 118 who have co-sponsored the bill vote for it in the House. Maybe you get 1 or 2 other people. I don't know. Maybe, but let's call it 125. You will then have approximately 320 people voting against it. Now, your sense is that this is the most prominent issue amongst people, I guess, presumably because we're in a pandemic. I don't know that it's any less pressing because we're in a pandemic. I think if we have Medicare for all, it certainly would have made things a little bit easier, but I don't know that it would have had a material difference. But we just tested the premise of whether and I have no doubt, I've seen all the polling, the people support Medicare for all, how strong that support is. If in the nature, let's say the vote happened this week, they lose 325 to 125. Your argument is that this is going to make people rise up because of that. And I just don't see any evidence of it. We know that Bernie represented Medicare for all in the Democratic primary. That was not sufficient for him to beat Joe.
Now, again, I just want to give the perspective. A lot of people that are participating in this discourse are ignoring the fact that there's so many people participating in this discourse. They are ignoring that they are active participants, and being an active participant in discourse that only maybe, let's say, fucking a couple, maybe let's just say 100,000 people have even ever heard of. Like, honestly, like, this is a very narrow margin here, but right? So it's like you participating in that discourse shapes the narrative of the discourse, right? So it's not just about like what the main characters are talking about, which like are on screen here. These are the main characters, right? But again, like, I'm a smaller YouTuber and I've made a couple videos even just slightly critiquing Jimmy Dore, right? And I've made a couple over the course of, a long time, not just with this thing. And every time I do, I get the same people that like I would if I made a video about Joe Rogan saying something dumb. Like, I'd get the same sort of like dumb fuck motherfuckers kind of like flooding my comment section. And so I organically just like kind of saw this force the vote thing pop up. And so I just like, okay, I was just like, it seems like it could be an interesting plan, but I'd like to hear what his specific strategy is. And it's just, it was garbage immediately. It's pure trash. And so, I mean, I just want to say that as like my perspective here. I mean, it's just like, and then the comments, people just give me like, oh, boutique. Oh, do you have insurance? You're a neoliberal. It's like, what? Like, again, if every time I make a video about Jimmy Dore, I get like fucking 50 people calling me, you're a liberal, you suck, what are you, a rich neoliberal? It's like, you are shaping my perspective. You are an active participant in the discourse. It's not just about what Jimmy Dore never said that. Jimmy Dore didn't come into my, it's not about that. It's about you are being an active participant. You are speaking on the behalf of someone. Like, if I were to say something about somebody and a bunch of my viewers were to go harass that somebody, that would be my responsibility. I would be responsible for that. How come when Jimmy Dore harasses people and directs anger to people, how come he's not responsible? I'm just saying, I want to point that out.
Biden. We know that 3 years ago, there was a vote that was shut down in the Senate. I don't know if people remember that, but that, I think, so I'm not convinced that step number 2, frankly, does bring about what you suggest it does.
So let me,
because you laid out a bunch of things, sure. I want to address them. And so I'm not convinced that of that step number 2. I mean, it's an argument. Like I say, I don't think I ever came out and directly, attacked, forced the vote, frankly. I mean, I think I commented on it subsequent to the attack that Jimmy had on AOC. I appreciate, Sorota's article and what you added to it. If you go to forcethevote.org, none of that's on there. And that has been the thrust of the strategy. I agree that there were other things that they could have leveraged. I don't agree on the PAYGO being so narrow. In fact, I think there's a tremendous amount of stuff. In fact,
So I watched a little bit of this debate, and I just want to make it very specific that the PAYGO exemption specifies anything related to the outcomes of the COVID pandemic. It's not COVID relief. So Brianna Joy Gray is going to be very dishonest here and interpret the PAYGO exemption as only for a COVID relief bill and not for things related to the effect of COVID. These are two very different things, and just wanted to say that.
Everything that is being talked about in the news, the $1.9 trillion, everything from the HEROES Act, which is over $3 trillion bill, could go through that what you call narrow,
Right, it's narrow, Sam, because it only applies to things that are related to COVID and the Green New Deal.
Everything right now is arguably a function of the pandemic.
You're talking about a COVID bill being enabled by the PAYGO exemption, which is true because the PAYGO exemption was for
not just the COVID bill, but everything.
Sam, it's for COVID-related things and it's for the Green New Deal.
But Joe Biden. But wait a second, let me just finish this, Brie.
But I just want to
there were things that you said that I disagreed with.
I hope that y'all are not playing the drinking game at home, because if you were, well. Oh my!
Until you were done, and then I corrected him. In fact, what I'm talking about is a correction. I think Joe Biden is proposing what I consider to be, and it comes from the HEROES Act, a horrible idea for healthcare, subsidizing COBRA. Okay, which I think everybody agrees is incredibly wasteful. It's just basically a sop to the insurance companies. It was in the HEROES Act as well, and that will.
I don't doubt that there's major feedback hum every time I touch my mic. It's just sometimes I touch it, and you're gonna have to get used to it. I don't mean to be a fucking prick motherfucker. Right, I don't want to be a prick motherfucker here, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes I'm going to move around, this is like, I'm chilling here. This is my night, I could do anything. I could sit by the fire and read the news. Instead, I'm sitting here with y'all watching another YouTube video. We are not even close. Holy shit.
Be covered.
I got to stop pausing this shit,
PAYGO
man.
Exemption.
Fuck.
Everything right now can be justified because we are dealing with the greatest economic crisis that we've had in terms of job loss since they took records in 1967. That there is nothing you're hearing about what Joe Biden or Pelosi or anybody is presenting right now is being subjected to PAYGO. If it was Medicare for all, if there was a chance, we know that it would lose in the House 325 to 125. It probably would never get a vote in the Senate. If it did, it would lose. I don't know what the numbers would be. It'd probably be 55 to 45 best, maybe 70 to 30. But the fact of the matter is that PAYGO would getting rid of PAYGO would allow for Medicare for all, but we know it's not going to pass.
Right. That's why one of the objectives was to get rid of PAYGO. So one of the things I was arguing that the squad should hold out for and withhold the vote for is a complete eradication of PAYGO, a Nancy Pelosi policy that they could have said, I'm not going to vote for you, Nancy Pelosi, until you get rid of PAYGO, instead of what they got, which instead was a PAYGO exemption for things related to COVID relief.
That's everything now.
You can't pass Medicare for all using.
Why could you pass the COBRA subsidies and not Medicare for all?
Because it's COVID contingent, and doing a program that's a permanent economy shifting forever program like Medicare for all is not something that. And this is not me saying this, Sam. This is David Day, and immediately.
This is like, oh my god, I'm sorry, but this is just so embarrassing. It really is.
I gotta stop pausing people like my former boss at The Intercept are trying to pretend like this is something that's bigger than it's not. It is what it is. It allows what it allows, and it's a game. But even if we take the floor vote for Medicare for all completely out of the equation, the fact still remains that this was an opportunity of enormous leverage in which someone could have gotten a lot more than simply what they got. And it's not about characterizing what they did get as big or little or insignificant. Of course, it's important. That's not the issue. The issue is this the best way for them to have maximized the real power that the left had to actually either oust Nancy Pelosi or, in lieu of that, demand significant concessions for the left?
I mean, I think it's, if they end up spending $2 trillion, if they end up spending, like we both agree, right? I mean, can we all agree here that there is no...
Reminder, Nico House, in my debate with Nico House, the motherfucker was like, AOC could get anything. They had unlimited power, Nico House said. Go watch the debate I did with Nico. Reminder, I was going to do another one, but he chickened out like a little beta male. But again, AOC had unlimited power. They could have done anything. Anything. That's what Brianna Joy Gray is doing right here. She's not being as boldly dumb. She's not being very, very stupid and openly dumb as a motherfuck. She, keeps a lid on it. But the argument's the same. It's that they had unlimited power. They could do anything.
No scenario, when you talk about force the vote, that Medicare for all can possibly happen within the next 2 years. Right?
Well, if I address that point, I was speaking notes as well during that last. So that was one of the points that you brought up earlier in your last remarks, which was that you don't know that Medicare for all is a priority for folks, or that passing it during this pandemic would make a material difference.
No, I didn't say that. I said I don't think it's possible for it to pass now, and B, I'm not convinced the loss of it is going to create any type of mass uprising.
Okay, but you definitely said material difference. I mean, that's just a note that I took down.
In terms of the pandemic? No, I'm saying Medicare for all is absolutely necessary as far as I'm concerned, just broadly speaking. But I don't know that something specific to COVID.
So again, I just want to point out that Brianna Joy Gray is going to do another Nico House tactic. Again, I just want to remind everyone, Nico House works with white supremacists. So, I mean, I'm just saying, this is interesting bedfellows that they're working with here, and they're getting talking points from. But the other thing that he said... Oh, fuck, I just hit the mic. Anyway, I'm going to play this real quick.
Short of the fact that I think people are losing their health insurance because of employment.
The other thing that they are conflating is they're saying healthcare. Like, if you believe in Medicare for all, you have to agree with force the vote. That's what they're saying. You have to. They're saying, if you are a Medicare for all advocate, which they're saying is, if you are a leftist, which they're saying is, if you are like a real, authentic person, not a corporate sellout or something, if you support Medicare for all, you have to support Jimmy Dore's dumb fuck idea. So if you don't support Jimmy Dore's dumb fuck idea, that means you don't support Medicare for all. That means you're not a real leftist. That means you are a corporate sellout. They're making this like a make or break litmus test when it literally, first of all, the strategy's done. It didn't happen, right? This debate happened like, what, 2 days ago? Force the vote, if it were to happen, it was like a month ago. It didn't happen. They didn't force the vote. So the idea that we're still having this conversation, again, it's pathetic. And I just want to say that, like, you know, Sam Seder's great and all, but he is not being, he is arguing here in the best faith possible. And Brianna Joy Gray is arguing in the worst faith possible. And Sam, at least at this point, is not doing an adequate job of just saying that Brie's just lying. Like, she just lied like 3 times already, and she's just lying. GC Snipe, $20. Thank you, by the way. Brianna, Jimmy Dore could be the Night Stalker, and I would still support his ideas on force the vote. Again, it didn't happen, so it's just
right, but short of that fact, that's a pretty big fact, Sam. 15 million uninsured Americans is a huge deal. And the only reason I believe it's not really being felt that way in terms of media coverage is because the media isn't covering it as such. And so my point with force the vote is not, of course, Sam, nobody here thinks that next week, 2 weeks, a month, even a year after a force the vote effort, that we're going to have Medicare for all.
2 years.
And nobody...
What do you imagine the vote count? Just articulate to me. What do you imagine the vote count would be?
I'm trying in this moment to articulate to you what the goal of force the vote was, because it was never about passing Medicare. No, it was not about passing Medicare for all. Because here's the issue, Sam. If your argument is we should only.
So I just want to say, Jimmy Dore said several times, and when I debated Nico House again, they've worked together. They did the force the vote like fucking rally with 15 people together. Nico House told me that, oh, yeah, of course it's going to pass. It's a pandemic. When I watch Jimmy Dore's videos, Jimmy Dore's like, of course it's going to pass. It's a pandemic. Are they going to vote against healthcare in a pandemic? The answer is yes, they are. But they actually peddled, and Jimmy Dore is the most popular person. He's got almost 1 million subscribers. They peddled that lie in that completely magical way of thought, the complete fabrication that made no sense. They peddled that to like potentially millions of people. It's just an alternate fan fiction, just like the Q stuff. Again, referring to billiards.
Things. If they guarantee a win in this moment,
argument at all.
Okay, well then you can make your argument. But my point is that if that is the way someone saw the world, of course you wouldn't believe in Medicare for all.
That's not.
You wouldn't believe in force the vote, rather. But if you had a longer,
Freudian
historical perspective and understood that, for example, when in the lead up to women's suffrage, they did this exact same thing. They forced a vote that failed, but which galvanized a lot more public attention to the need for women's suffrage. And subsequently, about a year later, they were able, because of that upswell of energy and attention, to attend to it. So what you said earlier was that it will make people rise up. And
did that happen in 2017?
A little flippant. Well, let's take your point about the 2017 vote. One of the arguments being made by the anti-force the vote crowd is that if we do this, we'll lose political will and it will set back the case for Medicare for all. But by your own admission, they did this in 2017 and subsequently got more co-sponsors for Medicare for all than we've ever had in American history. So the argument that somehow this is going to cost us politically, I think, is really unfounded. Now, I can't prove to you it's going to
make that argument.
But Sam, let me just finish this, since I let you finish as well. I can't promise you any outcome. But in light of how limited the potential costs are, the idea that you wouldn't take this opportunity to withhold the vote to maximize what you can get, whether or not it's a floor vote on Medicare for all, whether it's PAYGO exemptions, whether or not it's getting rid of Richard Neal as the head of the Ways and Means Committee, or any number of the suggestions given by David Sirota, what we saw is that the vote was never held, and instead a bunch of concessions that who knows what the negotiations were like behind the scenes, but ultimately didn't add up to much, were held out as some big get in a way that felt really disingenuous. And I think that that's why so many people on the left find there to be a credibility crisis. It's not that they hate AOC or hate the squad or want to throw anybody away, but they want to hear a better...
That's the opening for Jimmy Dore. There's no leadership. Bernie's not running for president anymore. He probably won't run for president anymore. AOC, if she did run for president, would probably be in 8 years. So the goal for these people is to take out AOC, make her have like like as much of like a haunting shadow as possible from what they will refer to as a left perspective. Jimmy Dore's not a leftist. Nico House isn't a leftist. Nick Brana is not a leftist. These are not leftists. The best they got is Cornel West, and I think he's kind of, I don't want to go into that, but I don't even think Brie is a leftist, to be honest. I mean, I don't know what she is. It's just ridiculous.
Response and acknowledgement about why it seems like they sold this enormously important progressive issue for so cheap.
Well, first off, I think the conflation between the idea that forcing a losing vote, which I think we can all agree, right? I mean, I'm not saying anything wrong that you disagree with. 325 to 125.
No one
right.
believed.
No vote in the Senate.
Never that was going to.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page with this. The idea that people are conflating a pursuit of Medicare for all with this particular tactic is wrong. Now, if you want to talk about other things that could have been leveraged, I mean, look.
We were talking about them. We can talk about them.
I'm willing to, I think you have an argument that maybe it would have been better not to get PAYGO, maybe it would have been better to get this. But let's play this scenario out. You say there's nothing to lose in this strategy whatsoever. I can tell you that the fact that AOC has led the sort of the challenging, I mean, presumably I've heard, and maybe this is wrong. The idea is that the people who vote against Medicare for all, and I don't think we have a president who was elected by saying that even if the House and the Senate were to pass Medicare for all, he will veto it. So we have a disagreement as to what we think the public is going to react to at this point. And how they will react. Okay, fine. My sense is that losing vote would not galvanize the population. You would not get people on the streets. You would not get that type of push that you got with suffrage, for instance.
Why not?
Well, so that's the central point. Then that's the central disagreement.
So again, Brianna's like, why not? Why won't people rise up? Why won't they? Again, her previous resume is losing a presidential campaign when you won the first 3 states. No Democrat has won the first 3 states in a row in a presidential primary, to my understanding. I think, pretty sure. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But it's either way, not in my lifetime. So, and somehow they managed to squander all that, talk about Castro forever, and then not anticipate Biden making moves. I don't know, man. I mean, her resume is not great. And again, she just organized an event that only got 15 people. So it's like, okay, so you went from losing to you had the front runner and you lost as the front runner, and then you organized another event and got 15 people. Your track record's not great, Brie. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna single-handedly go through and I'm not saying that. I'm just an observer here. I'm just an observer. I have no skin in the game. I'm just observing. And what I'm observing is shit.
Because as you said earlier, Sam, I'm sure we all agree that under this Congress, that as it's currently constituted, as we know what individual members of Congress are on the record about Medicare for all, they will not pass it. But the idea is that a failing vote, and as Brie is saying, the momentum created by that, the media attention created by that, the starkness of it, would push the matter. And frankly, I do also want to target this one point that you just made, that Biden is a guy who won the Democratic primary, saying I'm Medicare for all, I'm not going to sign that into law, I'm against that. But do you really think that if, and again, we're not necessarily going to this point, and this is hypothetical, but that if the Senate with 50 votes passed Medicare for all and the House with enough votes, he would simply not sign it? Or do you not think there's enough momentum at that point that he would say, well, all right, yeah.
I got to think if Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and Mark Kelly and John Hickenlooper, and they voted for it, and if the other 125 members of the House who were not going to vote for it voted for it, I would imagine that Joe Biden would sign it. My point is that it did not hurt Joe Biden enough to deny him the Democratic nomination or the presidency. Well, I think in part because of the media, if you want to say, but that's going to be the same media that you're relying on to cover a vote that loses 325 to 120.
How do you get that, Sam?
Well, I think, frankly, what we need is more power. I have a different sense of than yours as to the power of the left. For instance, okay, now look, I was not one of those people who slammed the people who went out to protest on the Capitol steps about the force of the vote. There wasn't many people there.
I was, though.
I saw one clip from it where someone is mentioning my name as being part of why this doesn't happen.
And I was totally making fun of that.
If Sam Seder is the obstacle to getting Medicare for all, you can see even Sam Seder is the obstacle to getting Medicare for all.
I know where he lives.
I am sitting in front of IKEA panels right now.
I know where he lives. I'm going to drop his address in the chat, and you can go rush that studio right now.
Reminder, even better. I have had these dumb motherfuckers come on my thing and say, you're standing in the way of healthcare. If only your fucking 8,000 subscriber YouTube channel was forcing the vote, then we'd all have healthcare. It's like, these people, I can't, dude.
Now we can get Medicare for all right now.
I mean, I just think that we don't have the power that's there. And I think the danger, what you can lose in trying to use a phone as a hammer is you can break the phone.
Can I just address that? I want to take that good faith version of that argument that you just made. Like, really, truly, I want to drill down on this.
I love how Brie is just like, Yeah, what you just said was so disingenuous, but I'm gonna go with the good faith interpretation of what you just said. It's like, what? That sounds pretty good faith to me, but hey, all right.
This is serious stuff, okay? The argument you make to you, Sam, is not that you individually hold all the power in the world, but that there is, whatever left media structure we have is fairly limited. And both you and the Young Turks are take up an enormous percentage of that left media space.
I think Jimmy has a bigger audience than I do.
Yeah, he does, but that's not the point. You and the Young Turks together take up an enormous amount of space. Jimmy has his own platform.
I have no idea what their perspective on this was.
Okay.
I love this. Okay, so this is another thing that Nico House did to me, and I'm sorry that I keep bringing up Nico House, but it's like my only participation in this discourse in any capacity that's not being an observer is debating that dumb motherfucker. But yeah, so that's the same thing that he was saying that, like, okay, you and TYT. It's like, first of all, I've got 8,000 YouTube subscribers. How am I connected to TYT? And then Brie does the same thing. Oh yeah, Majority Report and TYT. Well, what? Why are you, like, okay, when you compare Jimmy Dore to Majority Report, Jimmy Dore kind of, seems to get a lot of views. I haven't compared them, but, I don't know. But it's like, when you put TYT and Majority Report together, obviously they're going to win this magical, contest that you've just declared as, like, indicative of so much, right? But it's like, why are these people obsessed with TYT? I don't know anyone at TYT. Like, it's just so bizarre.
And then in terms of beyond the left media space, who else has influence in the left media? Well, there's unions and there's the DSA, right? And so if Young Turks takes up, I don't know, probably 80% of I don't know how big they are, but obviously they're the main player. If Young Turks comes out against an idea, if you come out against an idea,
I didn't.
Or you decline to support it, and Sam, I think you're not being entirely honest about the kinds of things that were said on your show, even if you personally didn't say that. I'm not holding you responsible for them, but the Sam Seder universe was extremely antagonistic toward force the vote.
I think it was, frankly, for me personally, I was antagonistic to the idea that it very quickly, very, very quickly turned into AOC is a sellout, she's a fraud.
That's fine, Sam. I'm sitting in
I love how Virgil just left the
cost
room.
is that.
No,
the cost is
I didn't ask you.
and I'll tell you something, I have a historical perspective on this. We have, for the first time, we have taken out more establishment Democrats in the past 2 years, not exclusively because of her, obviously Injustice Democrats.
I really just wanted to make the point that I was making, though, which wasn't about any of that. Or I would like to say my name is Brianna Joy Gray, not Jimmy Dore. So I think we should talk about and can talk about
force the vote.
Okay.
And there's the first name that is listed.
If I can finish the sentence, I think that we can and should talk.
Again. So Brie is going to do something really dumb here. Again, this is like, I only watched like half of it, so. Like, actually, I only watched like 40 minutes, but, so, it's just so dumb. It's just so, I'll describe it.
Talk about the effect of the approach that Jimmy Dore took. But in this statement that I'm making right now, what I'm trying to say is the argument that was being made is not that you have all the control in the world, but there was an enormous resistance that felt, I'm not saying coordinated as though it was planned, but all the big players were either silent on the issue or were anti-force the vote for whatever reason.
The big players, like, what does that mean? Seriously, the big like, what?
Okay, and what that does ultimately is take what could be a spiral of energy and natural enthusiasm that came up around the idea and deflate it. So you can't be suppressing an idea, which you can agree.
Hello, US Fest, $4.99. Brie Joy Gray spent hours a few months back on Helper whining about how much she sacrificed giving up her corporate lawyer gig for the movement. Ugh, she's got main character syndrome.
You're right. It's your show. It's your platform. But the DSA declined to weigh in.
I'm not the DSA.
That's fine, but the DSA declined to weigh in. The nurses union.
Again, like, they just do this thing where they lump you in with all these other people that you've never met, you've never talked to. Like, I've never even heard of half these people, but all of a sudden I'm on the same team. It's like, what?
Unions declined to weigh in. Young Turks was antagonistic to it as an institution, even though 80-odd% of its viewership supported the idea, and you did too. So it feels a little like, it feels a little unfair to say nobody showed up, and not you, but other people were mocking that idea after having worked so hard to stem the natural organic tide of enthusiasm around it.
Okay, well, I mean, it is impossible to separate Jimmy from this. You said yourself. You heard about it from me, which I got from Jimmy. Jimmy is the first name outside of Nancy Pelosi's on the forcethevote.org for a long time.
Now, again, I participated. I'm just an observer on this discourse, right? And I had so many people link this website to me. Forcethevote.org, forcethevote.org. It was on Twitter everywhere. Forcethevote.org, forcethevote.org. So Brie is going to pretend like, what? Never heard of it. What? So you're telling me you are actively participating in these Slack channels, in all these DM groups, you're actively participating in all the planning of this, and your podcast, you're on everyone's show, you organized the People's Party Town Hall, and you never looked at the website? The People's Party Town Hall that Brie hosted, that was advertised on the website, all of a sudden she's never heard of it. All of a sudden. Oh, you know that thing I did 3 weeks ago? Well, I forgot about it. What? I don't know what you're talking about.
There was two supporting agents, and the first one was Jimmy Dore's logo down there. Jimmy Dore turned this into a litmus test for progressives as to whether they were actually on our side. And you asked about the cost. And when it became clear to me that this was going to cost a lot more, like I say, I was open to the idea from a perspective of 1,000 flowers bloom. I didn't necessarily think it was the greatest thing in the world. I thought maybe there were other asks that you could get. But as soon as he took the energy, and it was all emanating from him and around him, he was on every one of those conversations. You mentioned Sirota and conversations that you had. He was.
Brie Joy Gray got TYT numbers from a TYT poll. Forced the vote brigaded. Okay, that makes sense. Just from a Slack channel. Thank you, by the way. $2. Jenna Nix, 5 Californias. $5 closer to being a main player. Oh, you bet. Hell yes.
Was I didn't see all of them, but all the ones that I did see, he was there. Whether it was 5 or 6 other people, he was there dominating the conversations. And this turned into a project for him. And it was, I don't know on that Slack that I saw the images on that Slack. I don't know how representative that was, but it at the very least captured what I found to be problematic of it. And I thought that was the cost, because from my perspective, having had my historical context, I've watched for 15, 20 years an inability to primary Democrats who are establishment Democrats or conservative Democrats. Donna Edwards, I think, was the last one that we saw, and that was in 2006 maybe. And that was a big deal. And I don't even think she was that far to the left, frankly, relative to where people are today. And yet, the central figure, and if you go back and you look at too, like things like, if you look at the reporting on the Energy and Commerce Committee that AOC was shut out of because she was doing that primary, I think there was a couple articles that made the point that had that vote been public, they would have been very nervous about voting against her. And that means that the value and the power that she has to do with her Twitter following, her capacity to raise money, her popularity on the left, and to go after that and fundamentally undercut that. And if I have power, Jimmy Dore has more power. And to undercut that, and for the sake of a losing vote where supposedly it was about 2 years later you're going to primary those people, although she is the central.
So again, yeah, like you replace AOC, you primary AOC, Jimmy Dore's going to move to New York and then win the primary, and then what? That gets us closer to forcing the vote, and then when you force the vote and then lose, and then what? It's just. And then of course, if he were to do that, he would alienate everyone else in the Democratic Party. So let's say he magically is able to win against AOC somehow, or have someone win against AOC somehow. That person's going to be entirely alienated from just anyone that would be willing to participate in Medicare for All. So, what?
Figure who are helping primary those figures. It did not make sense to me. That was the cost. As far as arguing whether, and that was the cost of the forced vote movement. Whether there was a cost for the Progressive Caucus or those 15 people to vote against Nancy Pelosi, I also have an argument. I don't know if I buy it, but I mean, I'm not a sitting congressperson. But let's say Nancy Pelosi says, fine, don't vote for me. They lose the speakership, right? Because there's no one to coalesce around. You're not going to get that 218 people to coalesce around another person. They're going to end up. It's going to end up being McCarthy. Because
that's just not true, Sam. That's just fundamentally not true.
I'm going to give you my scenario about this. I'm going to give you my scenario. They say no, we're not going to vote for Nancy Pelosi. We're going to vote for.
So okay, this is another bizarre part. They just kind of like interrupt him with a technicality thing and don't let him explain himself, and it's just really bizarre, the interruptions here. Again, there is no way you can conclude the force the vote thing unless you, 1, vote for Nancy Pelosi, or 2, vote for Kevin McCarthy or someone else. And then if you keep shuffling it, at some point, maybe Kevin McCarthy went, or you just keep shuffling it indefinitely, forever. You just do it forever, and then the media is going to hound you. And then it's so dumb.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And if you got, what was the 218 to 212 or something, right? What I can't remember.
I believe it was 216 to 212 with majority of 215, because if memory serves, 429 votes passed, requiring a majority of 215.
So you now need,
had at the time, I believe, about 219, 220.
The progressive holdouts, let's say there's 10 of them. Okay, they vote for Hakeem Jeffries. It has to be less than that, because the majority is not the majority of people who are voting. It's the majority of people who vote for a named candidate, right?
Yes.
So I'm thinking, okay, so let's say Nancy Pelosi calls their bluff. Don't vote for me. And they vote for Hakeem Jeffries. It goes into, enough of, only like 4 of them vote for Hakeem Jeffries, so that there is no majority. They have to revote, right? And then what happens? Either they have the same vote that they had before, or they switch to Pelosi, or they maybe other people vote for Hakeem Jeffries.
So let's go to a second or third or fourth round.
Second round. Now you have 15 people who vote for Hakeem Jeffries, 215 who vote for McCarthy.
Again, Brie and all the force the vote people sound like they're like constitutional lawyers. Like, when Mike Lee from Utah goes out there and it's like, democracy is not that cool. Our constitution is a republic, bro. And like, how these libertarians will say like, yeah, the Constitution is sacred, man. Right? That's what like Brie Joy Gray is doing, but like from a dumb left perspective. So like, yeah, the Constitution says that we gotta have cops beat the skulls of Black Lives Matter protesters and just let Trump rioters into the Capitol. It's the Constitution. What? Twitter banned my I got banned on Twitter. The Constitution. Ah! That's what Brie's doing from a dumb left perspective.
McCarthy and 205 who vote for Nancy Pelosi. What happens then, Virgil?
Wait, why would the memory serves McCarthy got 212 votes? So you're not saying that number goes up?
No, I'm suggesting in round two.
Nobody can marshal a majority, so it goes around 3.
No. You don't need you need a plurality of names.
That's not true.
It would require Democrats would have to vote for Kevin McCarthy to be speaker, or a large number would have to abstain altogether.
Yes, or abstain. Under your scenario, Sam, you need a majority of the people voting for a name.
Okay, so let's
say not voting president, which means that if every single Democrat shows up and they vote for someone, then unless they have a majority within that caucus,
yeah. Again, if you're trying to, this is the analogy here. If you're walking into a union meeting and you see someone like Jimmy Dore going like, I get 10 to 12 million views a month, why don't you like me? Right? You know what you're going to do? You're going to walk out of that union meeting, and guess what? You're not going to go back. And guess what? You're probably going to tell your buddies that they're fucking crazy freak shows over there, and they're probably not even going to think about it twice. Right? So, like, that's not how you build a movement. That's probably why only 15 people showed up at the Capitol, right? Because they didn't build a movement. They just didn't, because no one cares. No one gives a fuck. No one gives a fuck. And if anyone even was slightly skeptical, like when I made videos, I was slightly skeptical until these people started yelling at me, and then I just was like, fuck them. I'm just going to make fun of these people. I was skeptical, and these people were like, what are you? A neoliberal state-sponsored YouTuber? It's like, what? That's not how you build a movement.
Majority. This is again assuming that the Republicans voted as a bloc, and they're a minority, and no Democrat is going to vote for McCarthy, obviously.
Ian Kinzel, $10. Even if Pelosi got voted out, Hakeem Jeffries wins, and now he has more power than he would have had when Pelosi was going to retire anyway, and Jeffries is even more anti-squat. Yeah, it's just dumb. They don't even think about that. They don't care about anything.
And it's just going to keep going to successive ballots. Right. And this is not an unprecedented situation. Right. It's simply a situation we've not had in 100 years.
And importantly, this could go on for dozens of rounds, as it did in the historical precedent that Virgil is nodding to. And this is where we start to talk about media attention and spectacle, where Nancy Pelosi, who 3/4 of Americans want to step down, a bipartisan majority of people can't stand Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, who was down.
We're going to talk about Democrats because the Republicans are irrelevant.
Yeah, it's like half of Democrats.
Really
I think the
need
majority
some
of Democrats
water, man.
So the question is, isn't this part of the spectacle that we're trying to create around the issue of why 15 million people just lost their health insurance and what the government is going to do about it? We don't end up in a situation where Joe Biden is saying, let's do more COBRA payments, let's give more giveaways to the private insurance industry. And even if it doesn't result, obviously, in Medicare for all tomorrow, what it does is finally force a public at the best.
All right, y'all, I'm going to go get some water. I'm going to play this at 1.0. If I miss anything, fuck it, whatever. I don't care. But, I need some water.
Chance of forcing a conversation on this issue that I can imagine happening at all. So unless we give an alternative of how we're going to force
the subsequent things that followed that vote
Kobe.
probably would have sucked up a lot of that attention.
Yeah,
you didn't know that, of course. You didn't know that, of course, before the force the vote. But presumably, over those days, you would have probably still paid more attention to the insurrection in the Capitol. Right. Now you don't know that because you don't know how things are going to play out. And
they could have scheduled the hearings for any time also.
Well, I'm saying the spectacle that would have come from that vote on the 4th would have been would have ended, of course, on the 6th. And
sure, but again, we didn't know that at the time. We couldn't know that at all.
No, of course. I mean, and then you also would have held up the vote for I guess to certify the vote, right? I mean, how?
What's up?
And your question is, how do we certify the vote because there was that we didn't know?
No. I'm saying in terms of we haven't organized, we don't have the House yet at that point. But my point is like the assuredness that the force of the vote people had enough so that the Progressive Caucus members who didn't do what they said were sellouts. To me, I'm sorry, I just think that's ludicrous.
Okay,
like I never even criticized the force the vote until it became apparent to me it was part.
Hello, Umar Soris. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I appreciate that. Are you my new friend? Are you new here? I don't know. Hello, everyone. If you're new here, I ate some cookies earlier. Let me just tell you.
It was part of Jimmy's sort of project. To attack the Democrats and particularly the progressives. I mean, he did that when she was elected before she even won the general election. He attacked AOC for endorsing Andrew Cuomo in the general election. I mean, and then I realized I've been duped.
My name's Brianna, and regardless, Jimmy Dore can go
kill 15. You brought up the DSA, you brought up nurses, you brought up the media, you brought up David Sirota.
Honestly, Sam, if I could just get this sentence out. We can talk about Jimmy Dore can go and kill 15 kids tomorrow, and I still believe in force the vote. So there are ways that I think we can talk about the effect of Jimmy Dore's argumentative style on this discourse.
Well, it's not an argumentative style.
Okay.
I don't mind his style. I think that when you put out and make the argument over and over.
This is the other classic talking point that like Nico House would use, and all these dumb motherfuckers, all these dumbo bitch fucking motherfuckers. And I'm not trying to like, you know, be rude to any certain characters. I'm just saying like all the commenters in general, all the people that participate in this discourse, like all the people that leave comments on my videos, right? I forgot what I was saying. I'm sorry.
Over again, that she's a sellout and they're fraud.
Okay.
I think that does damage.
And we should talk about that.
Right. It's not tone policing. That's what they say. They say tone police. Oh, you're tone police. It's not about... Hello, like, did you listen to what I just called people dumbo bitch motherfuckers? It's not about tone. It's not about words. It's about the strategy. It's about why you're saying those words. Right, like, for example, I'll call Kevin McCarthy a fuckwad motherfucking fuck. And I mean it. And I'll do it again. Fuckwad motherfucking fuck. I have no problem with that. I'll call Nancy Pelosi a bitch motherfucking fuck. Sure. Whatever. To me, swear words aren't that important, but that's just my opinion. I'm a little edgy. So it's not about tone. It's about why you're utilizing these words. And if you're going to use them at any of our potential allies, it's like, what? What? It's just weird. It's weird. It's weird. Strange.
But that's different than making an argument for why force the vote.
It's bizarre behavior.
And ask me why I didn't support it. That's why. Because I didn't want to associate myself with a attack.
That's honest. That's honest.
Oh, yeah.
You're not saying that you actually think that force the vote was an ineffective strategy or a bad idea. You didn't like that it was associated with Dore.
I thought, like I've said this 3 times on this, and I thought it was a middling idea. When I found out that they were leveraging other stuff that
Again, they treat it like it's a grand strategy. Oh, it's the grand... Oh, we're gonna force the vote. Oh, yeah, we're gonna force the vote, and then God's gonna come from heaven and grant us Medicare for all. We're gonna force the vote, and then Jesus will materialize on the floor of the Senate, and then say, I shall give you Medicare for all. Like, there's a lot of other possible avenues to get to this fucking policy. But again, they treat it like it's the litmus test. If you don't want to force the vote, you don't believe in Medicare for all. It's like, bro, what the fuck are you... Like, are you on drugs? Like, these people are on drugs, dude. Like, seriously, they're on fucking drugs, man. Like, the only way... It's like if I say, like, I mean, we should all be healthy eaters, right? Like, I think everyone should eat healthily. And then I say you have to eat popcorn every single day. Otherwise, you're not a healthy eater. It's like, what? What? So, okay, well, so if you don't... So let's say you just don't want to eat popcorn every day. Maybe every other day or maybe once a week. Nope, you're not a real healthy person. It's like, what? But that has nothing to do with being healthy. It's a, possible healthy snack that you can have once in a while. It has nothing to do with being healthy. That's what this whole thing is. It's like, what? It's like, what? But they treat it like it's like, man, you got to do this, bro. Man, you got to force the fucking vote, bro. It's like, what the fuck?
I thought had more material benefit and not.
But it doesn't have more material benefit. Because they could have asked at least for you
and I have a disagreement. I believe that PAYGO, exempting PAYGO,
but they did exempt PAYGO.
Excuse me, at a time where we desperately need funding. We need expansion on all sorts of things, ranging from expanded unemployment insurance. We need checks. All of that. I think that was a valuable get.
It was valuable, but it wasn't a get.
Huh?
It was valuable, but it wasn't a get. You have no knowledge if their failure to force the vote resulted in getting those things. If those things were already planned concessions or not.
We're gonna force the vote, bro.
Part of my demand was to get rid of PAYGO.
Let's go, man. Trust me, man.
We're talking about the material value of either of those things.
Your demand was you. Look,
So
I'm saying there is an argument, okay, but neither one of us knows how much you could have leveraged at this point.
Well, here's
you want to argue that you think that their negotiations, that their ask wasn't big enough. Fine, I don't have a big issue.
That is what I'm arguing. Here's why.
But as to why I wanted to distance myself as fast as I could, because I'm not going to be part of a project that disempowers for what I think is a highly speculative tactic that I think is dubious, frankly. But again, I was perfectly willing to just let 1,000 flowers bloom, like you said. There was no strategy on my part to go like, I'm going to support this so that Brie signs on to it, for instance, and then I'm going to pull the rug out. No, it was and to say that Jimmy's not associated with Force the Vote.
I didn't say that Jimmy's not associated with Force the Vote.
To say that he wasn't the biggest advocate or the person most close to
social. Very central to it. It was his idea.
That is why when he started to use.
She's going to do this. Jimmy was central to it. It was his idea. Note that. Note that. Jimmy was central to it. It was his idea. And now watch the rest of this motherfucking debate.
Use it as a leverage to disempower the progressives in Congress. I decided I'm done.
So I'd like to address that point, if I may. I don't believe that Jimmy is trying to disempower the progressives in Congress. What I believe Jimmy is doing, whether or not you agree with him or the tactic he's using, is trying to use his platform to pressure the elected officials, the progressives that we have worked so hard and have this unprecedented number, to your point, in Congress, to do the thing that we want them to do, which is to use power when it falls in their lap. Now, in this instance, we didn't need to get a majority of progressives in Congress to enact the plan. That was the whole spark and magic of it. That with a very small number of people.
Well, let's take that first premise, though. Take the first premise that you made, the assertion that you don't think Jimmy's agenda is to disempower progressives.
I'm sorry, which way is this going to go? I feel like I'm in the middle of a point. I feel like I've been letting you
melt down.
Okay, if I could just finish this point. I have like a whole notepad of notes that I'm trying to catch up on from the various issues that you brought up that I think are important to address.
Oh my God.
Jimmy's perspective, I don't want to speak for him, but it seems obvious to me what he's doing is to be the farthest, angriest. Jimmy's perspective, like a whole notepad of notes that I'm trying to catch up on from the various issues that you brought up that I think are important to address. Jimmy's perspective, I don't want to speak for him, but it seems obvious to me what he's doing is to be the farthest, angriest version of the left, to create political pressure on progressives to do what they said they were going to do when they ran for office. One of those, AOC in particular, since she's come under focus, said that she...
Now, I want to say that this is particularly... I take this to be particularly offensive. Now, I watch Sam Seder's show. He does not identify really as anything. He also is very, very much so not a far leftist, right? And one of the things that these people do, and Brie is doing it right here, is they're saying, oh, Jimmy's trying to be the farthest left, loudest voice or whatever. Okay, so let's break that down. All right, let's take this like algebraically or whatever, right? Okay, so Jimmy Dore screams. Okay, and Jimmy Dore claims to be a leftist. Now, sure, he talks to Nazis, and yeah, sure, he recently said that the Boogaloo Boys are good and we should unify with them. Yeah, he makes fun of trans people. Yeah, he works with people that make fun of trans people. Okay, whatever, but okay, Jimmy Dore's a leftist. He says he's a leftist, therefore it's true. And he's really angry. So those things are like fused together in her analysis. Well, Jimmy Dore's really angry, right? He calls people bad names. So do I. I'm really angry. I yell on the microphone too. Right? But I also have a like very detailed analysis of my theory of change. I also actually have a theory of change. Like Jimmy Dore says that like Karl Marx is kind of bizarre, right? And he says that we can't advocate for redistributing. He says that we have to work with like right-wingers who want to kill us to achieve like healthcare for everyone, which really just means healthcare for white people, right? He doesn't mind if Republicans who don't like immigrants, for example, were in charge of writing a universal healthcare plan, right? How would undocumented people get healthcare? Well, Jimmy Dore doesn't care as long as we get the healthcare. That's the whole thing for these people, right? And I just want to say it's bizarre. It's bizarre, right? So like she's saying that, oh, Jimmy Dore is farthest left, trying to like anchor him as like far left. Yeah, Jimmy Dore is far left. I'm far left. I'm an anarchist, dude. Jimmy Dore had a Boogaloo Boy on his show and called a Boogaloo Boy an anarchist. A Boogaloo Boy, a right-wing white supremacist militia, he called them anarchists. That's something Donald Trump or Mike Pompeo does. Jimmy Dore called them anarchists. I'm an anarchist. Anarchism is a far-left ideology of a stateless, classless society. That's what that is. Jimmy Dore doesn't even have an ideology. But Brie is trying to peg him as far left, and Sam is just kind of like, he doesn't do labels or whatever, and he doesn't refute that kind of like, that thought process. Jimmy Dore is far left? What?
He wanted to oust Pelosi. She complained just this past January, a year ago now, that it was regrettable that the Democratic Party was so moderate, so to the right, that we couldn't even get a floor vote on Medicare for all. That's almost a direct quote. So what Jimmy's trying to do is say, I don't care about AOC per se. I don't care about the squad per se. I'm invested in these individuals insofar as that they're advancing the interests of the progressive movement and are fighting tooth and nail for the policies that caused us to support them in the first place. And he is willing to become the antagonist in that by being the most ferocious attack.
Like she's making him seem like Jesus Christ. Jimmy Dore, oh, I'm dying for the sins of healthcare. It's like, what? What? Like she's building this guy up like he's Jesus fucking Christ. He's willing to be the antagonist so that you will get healthcare. Oh, like, what?
Dog to push them where they need to go. If AOC were to say, hey, this is my plan for Medicare for all and demonstrate a fighting spirit, there's no one in this world, I think, who would imagine that Jimmy Dore would just randomly keep antagonizing her for no reason. No, he's not, doesn't have a vendetta out against a.
And also a reminder, So she's going to do a bunch of damage control for Jimmy Dore and lie on Jimmy Dore's behalf. But reminder, she said it's not about Jimmy Dore. It's not about Jimmy Dore. Also, she said Jimmy Dore was central to it. It was his idea. Jimmy Dore is the most important person. It was his idea. It's not about Jimmy Dore. But Jimmy Dore's great, but it's not about him. But he's great, though.
AOC, whether or not I think that his approach is most useful is a different question. But he doesn't have a vendetta out against AOC because he hates her or something. It's because he simply wants her to conform with her own campaign promises. So I want to put to you, Sam, what is the point of having these people in Congress if, when they have real power to leverage, they decline to do it?
I disagree with your assessment of how much power they had in this instance.
We do disagree that they could have held up the vote for Nancy Pelosi and ensured that she didn't get seated if they wanted to, given the way the voting structure that we just talked about.
Again, she's just downplaying what she said. No, it's about them forcing the vote and then like getting whatever they want. Again, the same thing Nico House said to me. They can get whatever they want as long as they force the vote. Like, it's fucking like God mode in a video game or something. Yeah, you just fucking IDDQD, boom, force the vote, and then I can get whatever I want. It's like, what? And then Sam is just like, yeah, I just don't think that makes much sense. And then Brie's like, what? Dude, trust me, bro. We gotta force the vote, bro.
They could have gotten rid of Nancy Pelosi by voting for McCarthy.
Well, sure, but they also could have gotten rid of...
Do you think they should have done that? Would you... Let me ask you this.
No, obviously not. So do you think they should have done it by voting for Barbara Lee?
Well,
and holding up the votes until
what?
Until they get enough.
Do you think that the Democrats... Do you think the Democrats in... Do you think the Democrats in
Trust
Congress...
me, bro.
Do you think
We
the
gotta
Democrats
force the vote.
in the general population, if let's say AOC and Tlaib and Omar and I don't know, Bowman and one or two others, Cori Bush, if they were preventing Nancy Pelosi from becoming Speaker of the House, where do you think public opinion would fall on this?
Within, because 3/4 of Americans revile Nancy Pelosi. That's the whole point.
You think that Democrats would do that?
No, I think
you and I have a different assessment of what would happen in that scenario.
MSNBC.
And again, she doesn't know how numbers work. She just doesn't. Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician in the country. He has got the highest favorability rating. Guess what? He lost. Guess what? You lost. You were a part of that campaign.
ABC and CNN and mainstream Democrats are going to very much side with Nancy Pelosi. I think the American public is going to aggressively side with the squad. I'm sorry?
How many mainstream Democrats do you think there are in this country?
What do you mean? The mainstream Democrats don't like Nancy Pelosi. I'm talking about pundits. I'm talking about people on TV.
Pundits, but I'm talking about when you talk about public opinion, you're saying that all the major vehicles to shape public opinion are going to be against those five who prevent Nancy Pelosi from being Speaker of the House.
Right, but it won't matter. It will redound negatively against them, just like it did, by the way, when the mainstream media lined up against Donald Trump, who still somehow managed to win in 2016. Here's the thing: the media can influence public opinion, but at a certain point, even they have to conform if they don't want to lose their audience. So this is a given.
You and I have a disagreement on what would happen in that scenario. I mean,
reminder: Brianna Joy Gray is a comms expert. Everybody, an expert at comms.
Your feeling is that the public at large is going to say, "Oh, I hated Nancy Pelosi before, but now we're going to all side with her and against these enormously popular group of young black and brown."
The public at large is going to be so tired of conflict at that point that the idea that they're going to rally around AOC and Ilhan Omar and Cori Bush because they're preventing Nancy Pelosi from seating, I think that's fantastical.
Okay, well, we have a very, very different.
We have a disagreement on that.
Of what it means for 75% of people to hate.
Again, it is fantastical. It's just a statement of reality. But it's like the Q thing for these people. They're wrapped up in a conspiracy theory network caused by their echo chamber bubble of $35,000 a month to say dumb bullshit. That's what the Bad Faith podcast gets paid. $35,000 a month. Brie? She was a corporate lawyer. She was the public face of a campaign that lost with the most momentum any presidential campaign's ever had, and then makes a mysterious $35,000 a month on her podcast that, not that many people watch because whenever she organized an event, it got 15 people. I don't know, man.
Since you started that with what Jimmy Dore's intentions are, okay? I'm sorry. The fact of the matter is that AOC, as a freshman Congress person, her strength comes from the fact that she is one of the biggest fundraisers in Congress. She does it all from small donations.
From us, yeah.
Exactly. And I think, I don't know what Jimmy Dore's intentions are. Maybe you do. I have watched Jimmy Dore for many years now, and I do remember when he attacked AOC as a sellout in the general election supporting Andrew Cuomo. I don't know what motivates him, but I can tell you what the impact was. And the impact was that Fraud Squad went out there, and when AOC did not get that seat on the Energy and Commerce Committee, which is a crucial committee if you want to talk about Medicare for all. There was no pushback whatsoever. There was no, and so we didn't have her back there. And in other words, basically,
why did we have her back there, Sam?
They were able to disempower us by not giving us a voice on that committee, and they got no pushback from it.
AOC.
Now, again, I want to make it very clear. There's certain things I talk about. There's certain things I don't talk about, right? Whenever you cover certain things, you are making an editorial decision as a YouTuber. Like, you watching this, I could be talking about, like, something important for 3 hours instead of this, right? I could be. And that's an editorial decision I'm making. Instead of providing you something that would make your life more educated and well-enlightened, I'm providing you popcorn blockbuster garbage. But I'm telling you that. Now you know. Now you know that's what you're doing. Jimmy Dore will gaslight you, or Brianna Joy Gray will gaslight you if you even suggest that that's what they're doing. So again, this goes back into the thing. A lot of these people are saying Donald Trump was censored from Twitter. That's so terrible. While there was an insurrection attempt, while these people tried to overthrow the government and kill lawmakers in the name of Donald Trump. A lot of these people like Jimmy Dore were just talking about, like, well, what's more important is that Trump got banned on Twitter. Ignoring all that. And you know what that does is it makes it so Jimmy's audience is not educated on the zip tie guy, for example, or the people that said, I want to kill AOC, and they were in the Capitol. They're not educated. They don't know that. So when they go online and they engage in discourse with other people, force the vote, bro. Dude, trust me, force the vote. Right? And then someone says, like, hey, I think, maybe accountability for the insurrection is more important. They say, well, no, because nothing happened, bro. Nothing happened. Gotta force the vote, bro. Nothing happened, man. But, gotta force the vote anyway, man. That's what they do. And it's like, what? First of all, we can't force a vote. That already happened. Second of all, it's like, what? I don't know. Like, they're just uneducated. And that's the thing. It's like, yeah, I can't educate my audience on everything I would like to. And, I'm working on expanding that and maybe get, and that's something that's a conscious decision of mine. But that's why you have other audiences. Jimmy Dore's trying to make everyone subscribe to him and only his network, and only his network's going to talk about forcing the vote and nothing else. And that shuts them out and puts them in a news bubble. And that's where Brie is. She's in a bubble. Because all she talks about is force the vote. She doesn't know about anything else anymore.
The fact that AOC is reliant on her base for her power is the reason why AOC should listen to her base and not Nancy Pelosi. You have
I'm not convinced that the base is so big. You have 41,000 people who signed that petition.
Well, which is it, Sam?
There was 100 people out there.
You can't have it both ways. Is it that force the vote made it so that no one had AOC's back when she was denied the energy and commerce position? Or is it that AOC's base is still with her?
The far sexier story for the media was about, the fraud squad hashtag.
First of all, the media barely covered that. The lefty media was interested, the internet was interested, but as with most things, it takes a big splash. It takes AOC herself to draw attention to the issue, which, by the way, the only reason, I want to be clear about this, the only reason we're talking about AOC and why she's such a focus of this is because she inserted herself into this conversation in the thread with
AOC making one tweet, like, just go, like, AOC sitting probably like fucking 2 beers deep on her sofa, just scrolling through Twitter. Yeah, hey everyone, I'm AOC, look at me, woo, ah, right? So it's like she's scrolling through Twitter, woo, what's going on here? I'm AOC, right? And then she's like, oh, well, maybe I'm gonna respond to some tweets. So she clicks on her notifications tab and she's like, woo, I'm AOC, look, it's Justin Jackson asking about forcing the vote. Well, I'm 2 beers deep. Let me just, whatever. And then, like, she scrolls to another. It's like, oh, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Well, my favorite flavor of ice cream is cookie dough. I'm AOC, right? So she's probably just answering questions that she's got in her feed, right? But, like, they're acting like as if AOC's inserted herself. AOC has decided to make force the vote all about her. Oh, yes, she just wanted to, such a narcissist. She just wanted to make force the vote all about her. And it's like, what? I don't know, man. Like, these people are weird. So she is just lying right now. She's just making up some shit. Sound? What sound? What? What do you mean sound? Oh, did that thing happen again? Oh, motherfucker. That thing happened again? I'm gonna have to restart OBS, I guess. Fuck. I hate when that happens, dude. Hold on. I gotta restart the... Just stay here. Stay here. Don't do anything. Don't do anything. Stay here. Stay here. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Think that the same thing that you were part of was
in focus. Do focus on her. It's all of them together. I think that she's taking the heat for the inaction of a lot of other squad members who should also be in focus right now, and people who are progressive but not in the squad. But
right now we should be rallying about getting Katie Porter a waiver so that she can sit on the financial services
committee.
committee.
That could have been one of the demands if they had decided to force the vote. They could have actually demanded specific committee positions.
That would have been maybe a better maybe thing to ask for. I don't know.
Well, I don't know what you were asking for, but part of the vote campaign I was a part of explicitly said that we were going to ask.
Yeah, if that happens again, just let me know. That's the second time that's happened. I don't know why it happens. It's the second time. But anyway, so she's going to just lie here. The forcetovote.org thing that she organized, by the way, she was a part of, the People's Party. It was just about Medicare for All. They literally, if you were to ask about anything else, they would fucking yell at you. Whenever I said, oh, maybe we should do housing guarantee instead of Medicare for All because there's, so many pending evictions going on. People are being fucking evicted, having their fucking families live on the streets in winter in a pandemic. Right? Maybe we should do that. I got yelled at. People told me, well, you have healthcare. You can say that. You have healthcare. I don't care about housing, but you have healthcare. Whenever I brought up something like, oh, maybe we should try to give more stimulus checks. Nope. Healthcare. So, okay, maybe Brie wrote one article at some point, but she's saying that Force the Vote is this movement. It's a big, grand movement. Oh, force the vote! Oh! Yet, she doesn't... Either she's lying about what she knows about the people that say things on her behalf, or she just doesn't know. You can't say the movement this, the movement that, in good ways, and then when Sam says, well, the people associated with the movement are saying shitty things, and then go like, oh, it's not about them, it's about the strategy. Oh, it's like, what?
Well, that same thing that you were part of was basically saying fraud squad, and I wanted nothing to do with that.
Sam, the fraud squad hashtag didn't even emerge until after the vote came out. So I'm not really sure.
I'm sorry. Listen, it's the only time I came out publicly. The first time I came out publicly with any negativity associated with that was when Jimmy Dore did that video. You know what I'm talking about.
I love how Sam is like, you know what I'm talking. This is where the part where like he just starts to get like, I guess, angry because like she's literally just blatantly lying. She is blatant, like she's acting like she's on Fox News, like she's trying to gotcha. She's trying to do the media game. It's the same shit Nico House did to me in my debate. And again, I'm sorry for comparing them. I don't want to be making these. If you would have asked me a year ago when I was campaigning for Bernie Sanders, right? Oh, are you going to be sitting on a podcast a year from now saying that fucking Nico House and Brie Joy Gray are the same? I don't want to be here. You think I want to be here? I met Brie. Like, I had like a 5-minute conversation with her at a fucking campaign event. I liked her. I watched her show like before. I don't want to be here. You think I want to be here? I don't want to be here. Right? But the fact that she's saying dumb shit just constantly, I have no choice at this point. You know what I mean? Like, it's just...
In terms of his agenda, one of the things that came out on that Slack, as you know, was that there was a lot of...
I don't know anything about anything. I'm not a part of the Slack. The Slack, I'm a part of his DSA Slack.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I know that I forced the vote with the People's Party, but I've never heard of the People's Party. I know that I was one of 2 hosts of the People's Party Town Hall, but what's a People's Party? I've never heard of it. What's Slack? I know that I organized in the... Like, it's just like, what? This person's blatantly lying. She's lying to you? Like, if she were to say, I'm not personally in it, but I know of it because she knows of it, she's going to mention it later on. She knows what Sam's talking about. But at this moment, it's more convenient for her to say, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. What? That's what she's doing. It's like, what?
People making fun of me as well. But I don't want that to condemn the entire DSA.
I want to know what the video, I would like to know what the video is and what Sam has to say.
On the Slack channel, apparently somebody leaked some things, and there was a lot of people on there who were saying, this is important for the movement for a People's Party to show...
There's a glob of, like... spit on my monitor right now. Like, I just want you to know this is no good.
That to make it out as if the progressives in the Democratic caucus are useless, and there is no reason for a progressive party, for a People's Party, if they're effective. And I'm
not true. What the Slack said was,
you didn't see the Slack.
No, I saw the.
I love it. Sam is like, what? I thought you didn't. I don't know what you're talking about. What? I don't know. I don't know what that is. What's a Slack? What? I'm in DSA. What? I hate DSA, but I'm in DSA. What? What's the Slack? No, that's not what the Slack said. What the Slack actually said. It's like, what? I thought you're not.
They're effective, and I'm
not true. What the Slack said was,
you didn't see the Slack.
No, I saw the clip. I don't have firsthand knowledge of the Slack because I'm not in the
You're like, look at it. Just listen.
Slack. So when you said, as you well know, I thought you were implying that
if they're effective, and I'm not
true. What the Slack said
was, you didn't see the Slack.
No, I saw the clip. I don't have firsthand knowledge of the Slack because I'm not in the Slack. So when you said, as you well know, I thought you were implying that I was a part of that Slack conversation.
No, I'm not part of the Slack either. I just saw those.
Well, pardon me, but the screen grab that was circulated by Ryan Grimm on Twitter said that if the squad doesn't do this, if the squad doesn't use their power, it's a demonstration of why we need third parties. And we can use this moment to demonstrate why we need an outside pressure from someone like the People's Party, because people who are a part of the Democratic Party are obviously unwilling or unable to flex the kind of muscle that we need to move the progressive movement forward. Now, you can frame that as, oh, I'm trying to kill the squad so that we can get
well, I think that's very consistent with what Jimmy's been doing. He's been pushing for a third party for the past 6 years. And so, I mean, first it was the Green Party, and then it was, and frankly, again, I remember what Jimmy's prescription was. People can go and look at the debate that I had with Jimmy Dore in 2016, where he told me that Donald Trump was going to get nothing done, and it would bring us Elizabeth Warren. That was his argument. Plus, he didn't know what a filibuster was. And if we're talking about, I mean, you made some assertions about what Jimmy's intentions are. This is my understanding of Jimmy's intentions are in this context. And frankly, honestly, I felt like I got completely duped and did not, when I actually was, took Jimmy's first video and proposal for this, I was far more, I was naive about thinking that oh, well, I should have known. And I have to say that I felt deep regret about that because I was duped. And I realized, and I don't think he wasn't trying to dupe people. I think it's just in his nature. And it turned into something that became extremely corrosive as far as I'm concerned. And it undercut what little power I think progressives have in the Democratic.
Again, we're talking about not just Brie and not just Jimmy. We're talking about all the people on Twitter, all the people in YouTube comment sections, all the people in wherever they are, wherever people meet or talk, Discord servers, Slack channels of all kinds. That's what the discourse is. That's what we're talking. We're not talking about what Jimmy's just says or what just Brie says. But they try to distance themselves and say they're the only person that matters. You're talking to me. I'm Brianna Joy Gray. You're not talking to anyone else. And then whenever it's convenient for her, it's oh, the movement. Oh, the movement. Oh, the movement. But whenever it's inconvenient, it's whoa, what movement? What? No, I'm Brianna Joy. I'm not Jimmy. Whoa. There's a movement going on? Whoa, can someone let me know where to go? Where are we moving? I just moved. I don't want to move again. Whoa, buddy. That's what she's doing. It's what?
Democratic Party.
What?
So you agree that progressives had the power to hold up the vote?
Yeah, everybody had the power to hold up the vote.
So do you...
I did not see whatever interview you're talking about, Nathan Drake. If y'all want to send me other stuff to watch, maybe we can do this later on. Maybe tomorrow, next day, whatever. I'm down. Just join my Discord server. You can find the link on my website, speed.dog. Go there, join my Discord, and then remind me tomorrow.
Do you also agree that they should have held up the vote in exchange for something more, whether it's...
You're telling me there's no sound again? What? You're joking. You're joking?
Agree that progressives had the power to hold up the vote?
Yeah, everybody had the power to hold up the vote.
So do you also agree that they should have held up the vote in exchange for something more, whether it's committee appointments or elimination of PAYGO?
I mean, I don't know if... frankly, I don't know how if you could organize people around the idea that this one person should get on a committee or not. I mean, I'm not in Congress. What do
you mean organize people around?
Well, I mean, you need to get 5 or 6 or whatever, 10 people to vote as a block. Mm-hmm. And I'm not convinced that there could be something they could settle on that would work across, all of their agendas to do that, because it comes at some price. I mean, you say it doesn't, but the reason why AOC lost that vote for the Energy and Commerce Committee is because she was leading the charge to primary other sitting Democrats, and they don't like that.
And yet a woman who, I'm sorry, I forget her name, the moderate who ended up withholding the vote this time, ended up getting a seat on that.
She voted against Pelosi last time and lost a seat on the judiciary that she wanted. Right. This time around, it was reported by Pelosi.
Yeah, I saw he did a 40-minute video with the Boogaloo Boy. I maybe we'll cover that one tomorrow. I'm not sure.
Before that she had been quiet about not voting for Pelosi.
Right, so did Connor Lamb suffer any repercussions for not voting for Nancy Pelosi or any of the other, I believe, 5 members of the right side of the Democratic caucus?
Did they suffer any? I don't know.
I don't know offhand.
I don't know either.
Yeah, so there's a lot of assumptions being made about why any of this happened. But what is assured, what we know for certain, is that until 4 or 5 members of the the Progressive Caucus, the Squad, whatever you want to call it, agreed to vote for Nancy Pelosi, there's no way that Nancy Pelosi could become Speaker of the House. And my main crucial point, and I think that what really can't be ignored, and what really got lost in a lot of this discourse, is people weren't arguing the merits of this in good faith. They were arguing about Jimmy Dore, and I think there's a lot you can.
I think that I've been
entitled to your feelings about Jimmy Dore, but the reality is there was a moment where we
that when I argue that I don't want to be part of this because he's using this as some type of litmus test, that is actually a good faith argument.
I think that you're being honest about that. I don't think that reflects especially well.
I think it's a dumb perspective on politics and whatnot.
Again, she is lying. She is lying. This whole song and dance, the whole thing, she's taken like. She's flip-flopped like 7 times just in the last hour of this debate. She is lying to all of you. You all are being lied. If you are buying this, you're watching Brie and you're like, damn, she's great. She's smart right now. It's like, okay, she's done good work. She's done bad work. Right now, she's doing bad work.
Not believe you.
But do you think it's a good faith argument? Because you just said that is not a good faith argument, and I just want to be clear.
No, I think that people are not arguing in good faith about them. They're conflating. I think that what you said is true and honest, but that has nothing to do with the merits of good force the vote as a tactic.
Well, as a tactic, if it existed
I'm really glad you said that, Sam, because I think that's really honest of you to admit that your opposition is because Jimmy Dore is associated with it, and you don't think that Jimmy Dore is pushing it in good faith.
It's not just that Jimmy Dore is associated with it.
She's also, I love how it's like, wow, that's your position? It's almost like that was your position in every single video you've uploaded for the last 2 months. But, whoa, you're being honest now. The mask is off. It's like, have you not been paying attention?
It's as if like it's not like it's a car exists, and whether I get into that car is going to have something to do with who's driving.
Right. There are a lot of others
driving. I'm sorry. He was driving. He was driving.
A lot of why Jimmy was so focused, so central to it is frankly because people like you.
Nathan Drake in the chat. Brie came at this debate. Well, Sam came at this debate as a casual discussion among friends to talk about a strategy that he has problems with. Brie came to this debate with, how can I knock Sam Seder down a peg to boost my credibility? So she's doing this attack dog like she's playing on Fox News or something attitude. Sam's just trying to have like an actual conversation. And she's playing a game. She's doing a game for followers to get ratings and boost her income. That's what this is to her. It's a game. She's not debating Sam. You have Sam Seder on your show for 3.5 hours. And instead of talking about literally anything else, you're going to yell at him about forcing the vote for 3 hours? Like, what? If I could get Sam Seder on my show, like, you know, I would not be talking about force the vote for 3 hours. I'm just saying. And she does this with, like, Noam Chomsky. You're going to get Noam Chomsky on your show, and you're just going to yell at him about Joe Biden? What? She does this a lot. She just tries to get clippable moments, posts them on Twitter, and boosts her Patreon sales. That's it. That's what this is. So, yes, does she come off better to the audience she's catering to? Absolutely. Absolutely she does, because that's the game she's playing. She's manipulating the dumb people. And I mean, hey, good for her.
On your show, spent countless hours clipping his stuff.
All that the sequencing is wrong there. He was the only person who had his logo on the petition for forcethevote.org. He's the first person still.
I have an actual question here.
Until after the vote, the organization came out with the logo and all of that. After the vote.
Not true.
If I could make a point of information,
I think Virgil's trying to play the straight man, and I like it. I like it. Now, I don't know much about Virgil in general. I don't know much about his show or whatever in general. I'm going to be honest. I tune out that stuff. And hey, maybe now I have a better reason to. If Virgil's associated with bad faith and all that in Chapo or whatever, if they're all associated and they're all saying similar shit, then geez, right? But hey, I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm purely speculative. I don't know these people that well. Okay, so I'm just throwing that out there. Is he okay? All right. I don't know that well. As I'm just throwing that, he could be good, he could be bad. I don't know. I know Brie is bad. I've seen enough at this point. I've seen enough on Brie. I don't know about Virgil. But in my debate with Nico, I specifically asked our moderator to let him loose if he was going to start yelling and look like a douchebag, to just let it happen. Because I was looking for clippable moments. I was looking at it to like, okay, that's really funny, and I can boost my followers from this, like him freaking out like a fucking total dullard, right? So like, I get it. I play the game sometimes, You're telling me I'm going to debate some dude with 30,000 followers and I know I'm going to cream his ass? Of course I'm going to try to manipulate him for extra views and money, of course. And it worked. I got a bunch of super chats. I got a bunch of new subscribers. It worked, right? So I know how the game is played. I mean, I'm honest with you about that. I'm going to tell you that, right? So it's like, I know what this is, but Brie is not going to tell you that. So I'm just saying, like, you got to look at this perspective here.
Referencing forcethevote.org, what is that? Because, I mean, I know Force the Vote as a strategic proposal, as a tactical disagreement. I also know that people are organizing around this in a...
Virgil seems extremely embarrassed. Sam has been a mentor to him. Yeah, I would be embarrassed. If I were Virgil and my co-host was going off and doing all this shit for the last month, I would be embarrassed. You want to know why I don't have co-hosts? Because of that kind of stuff. If I had a co-host for a show and they started going on Twitter having like a fucking like, you know, ambient moment, I want nothing to do with it. That's why I do a solo show.
Slack of some kind. But is there...
That's not the same Slack, by the way. I want to be clear that the Slack message that Ryan Graham was circulating was from, I think, a People's Party Slack. That's why I'm not a part of it. I'm not affiliated with the People's Party movement.
I co-hosted their town hall. I co-hosted that, but I'm not affiliated. No. Hey, I just hosted their stream for 4 hours. And they built it up as this grand event. Oh, the People's Party Town Hall. I was talking to the founder of the People's Party for 4 hours. But no, I'm not associated. People's what? What? There's a movement going on? You're telling me there's a movement going on? What? The People's who?
Force the Vote Slack is this random Slack that I've been tweeting out that it's got its own organizational structure. There's no leaders. They've just been trying to figure out what to do with this moment to try to fight for Medicare for all. Those are completely different Slacks.
So my point is, my question then is, are we talking are we talking about a strategy, or are we talking about something weightier, something more organized than that?
I mean, as a strategy in a vacuum, I was, again, supportive, maybe not necessarily for the ask, in particular ask, but the tactic itself, I was supportive of. When it became hijacked, if you want to say, or simply it was already being driven by that person, and it started, instead of traveling to a distance, it became something to hit pedestrians with, however you want to do this metaphor, I decided I don't want to be sitting in that car. And I think it became even more, and then people were attacked for not wanting to sit and associate themselves with that. The tactic in a vacuum can be effective, but if it's being wielded...
Hey, again, right up here, disagree, I accept all debate challenges. If anyone wants to debate me, I debated mostly Trump supporters back during the election, but I debated Nico House. I've debated other people that are on the dumb left. I'll debate anybody. I don't care if you know. If Brie watches this video or someone shares it with her or whatever, I'm fine. I'll debate. Okay. I'll be a lot, nicer maybe if I'm debating you like face to face. I'm not a rude person. Like, I might seem like a rude person in a vacuum, but I'm not a rude person. So I'll try to be nice. You can watch my debate with other people if you want, but I'm not going to let you lie. I'm just throwing that out there. Like, again, I'll debate anybody. So if you want me to debate this person, you got to make it happen.
Build it in a certain way. I'm sorry. Like then as soon as it becomes a tactic as a way of establishing that and essentially, disempowering the most progressive wing in the Democratic Party, I'm not going to lend what little force me and my IKEA panels can add to it.
So why not take the reins, Sam? Because my approach to it was, I saw the response that Jimmy was getting. I think that there is frankly value in having a more aggressive approach exist in the world. I think that everyone can't be the reasonable person in the room. We need to have anarchists. We need to have people farther to the left.
Listen, I have anarcho-communist on my show. I appreciate that.
Now, again, Jamie is on Majority Report. She's an anarcho-communist, or, she, hovers between communist anarchists. She has her own thing. The point is she's further to the left than Sam Seder, right? But, this is the thing. She is against Jimmy Dore because Jimmy Dore is not an anarchist. But Brie is doing this again. Again, I pointed this out an hour ago. Brie's doing it again. Oh, yeah, we need to have the anarchists, yelling at us from our left. What? Well, who's yelling at us from our left? Or who's yelling at us? Jimmy Dore. Well, I guess they're yelling at us, so they must be the one yelling at us from the left, right? Okay, so they're yelling at us from the left. Oh, now they're an anarchist. Oh, Jimmy Dore's an anarchist now? Jimmy Dore's an anarchist? Well, and then Sam Seder's like, well, I have an actual anarchist or someone who's familiar with anarchist philosophy, and they think Jimmy Dore's an idiot. And hey, I'm an anarchist. I think Jimmy Dore's an idiot. So, but Brie doesn't know anything about anarchism. She probably has never read the definition on Google. Oh yeah, Jimmy Dore, anarchist, whatever.
My argument, wait a minute, Dan.
It has nothing to do with ideology.
So my response was to say, okay, if people don't like Jimmy, let me write my own article and people can engage with the idea separately. And you know what all the responses to my article talked about? Jimmy. And so I tried to show leadership. I tried to show how you could be interested in the idea without some of the bombast that Jimmy was bringing to the equation. And I think that you, since you were the one who first even brought the idea to a lot of people's attention, could have taken leadership and said, I don't like what Jimmy's saying, but here, I'm going to be the focal point. I'm going to be the spokesperson for this issue. And I think nobody would have had a problem with that.
I think, you know, like I say, the idea of forcing the vote on Medicare for all, it became a different, in my mind, the ask was not the best ask, but this thing had progressed. It wasn't my thing. I wasn't going to go in and try and address.
It's a good tactic. Why not try
I'm sorry. I just wasn't interested in engaging in a fight with Jimmy about what the ask should be for that. I think
you were because you engaged constantly. You just engaged about
no. I was perfectly willing to step back and just let the thing grow. I mean, if I had brought you into it, then I felt like I had done enough as far as I'm concerned. And when it became clear to me that this thing was being wielded in a way that was going to be destructive, I didn't want a part of it. And when it became clear to me that it was a continuance of what I perceived to be Jimmy Dore's, project, and then I struck back at Jimmy Dore. I mean,
this feels like is the people who said, "Oh yeah, I guess I like Medicare for all, and I like a lot of what Bernie's saying, but his supporters are just too aggressive, and I can't get on board."
Well, yeah, but I wasn't one of those people, and that's not my point. My point is that
I love this. Like Brie's just bringing up some random dumb bullshit, and then Sam's like, "No, that's literally not what I'm saying at all." But again, it's all about talking points. Because I get people that say, this sounds like the people saying that Bernie, and it's like, what? First of all, you're making it sound like I'm against Medicare for all, which I'm not. Second of all, you're just saying something that doesn't apply to the situation that you think it does. She is lying to you. This is a game. If you are buying Brie, you got played. Sorry, hoodwinked, bamboozled.
Jimmy Dore, I think Jimmy Dore teaches people to be stupid. And I think Jimmy Dore is out there. You know, I just watched, we're going to get into this. I just saw a video of him talking about the Boogaloo Boys without having done any research on. No, I think this is reprehensible, and I think this is really problematic. Okay, I think this is how because if my if this is perceived as being like inconsequential, I want to try and put it in context so I see it as more consequential. Okay.
Now this is why I've been criticizing these people for the last month, and again, I have a playlist. You can go watch it, the Force the Vote saga. You can go watch my first video on the subject a month ago, right? And it like I said that they're making these bizarre claims and they're trying to undercut the power of the left, and that's only going to benefit the right? And then they kept doing it, and then it was all about how AOC is bad and how AOC needs to go away and how she can't have power. And then the Capitol insurrection happened, and all of a sudden all the Force the Vote people were also saying, oh yeah, those are just workers. Yeah, if only they had $2,000, then they wouldn't have stormed the Capitol. They're just workers. Sure, they're staying in hotels that cost $3,000 a night, and sure they flew at a moment's notice across the country. But yeah, they have economic anxiety. Jimmy Dore was saying that. Brie was saying that. Katie Halper was saying that. Convo Couch, Nico House, they were all saying that. Coincidentally, all the same people that were working with Force the Vote, right? And then they did the Force the Vote protest thing as well, teaming up with Nico House, who works with white supremacists. He is a literal Nazi collaborator. That's what he is. And they worked with them. Right, and then I was like, that's a very troubling alliance. And then it was clear to me at that point that this is all a Q-style conspiracy network to get people into magical ways of thinking, to get them to unsubscribe from everyone else and subscribe to their echo chamber. And then that echo chamber is going to make, oh, it's not about stealing the election, it's about election integrity. Oh, it's not about hating women in video games. It's about ethics and games journalism. Oh, it's not about, yelling at AOC all day and calling her evil. It's about holding politicians accountable. And it's all funneling energy away from things that are useful, like organizing and mutual aid, and into super chats for Jimmy Dore and Brianna Joy Gray and Katie Halper and all those other people. That's what this is.
When there's a guy out there saying, hey, maybe we should embrace the Boogaloo Boys because this guy with a weapon is talking about taking out government in a civil war, but he also...
This guy with a weapon trying to take out government, that could be said about a million left-wing groups in the world.
Excuse me. This guy's a Boogaloo Boy. This guy's a Boogaloo Boy.
We all saw the video. You're not going to sit here...
So Brie's just changing the subject. Boogaloo Boy, what? Something else. You're telling me Brie Joy Gray is okay? She's a self-admitted, identified comms expert. She doesn't know what the Boogaloo Boys are. She's just gonna play dumb here. She's never heard of the Boogaloo Boys. If you haven't heard of the Boogaloo Boys, and it's not January 5th, right? This is after the Capitol insurrection attack, and you still haven't heard of them. If you haven't heard of them, and you're going to carry water for them, I'm sorry. Fuck off.
On our show, and Mr. I haven't seen the clip you're talking about, but I did see the Boogaloo Boy clip.
You should look at the clip. You should watch the clip.
So I don't want to talk about stuff that is not germane to this issue, and it's not being represented on the clip.
You asked me why I didn't get involved, and I'm telling you.
That is fair. We are all very clear that you personally don't think that Jimmy Dore is a worthwhile vessel for this. You think that it's worth throwing away.
He was using it in a destructive way, and that
Jimmy Dore was using it in a destructive way, and it tainted it. So, what I'm saying, and I hear you. I think that everyone understands your point of view.
I think the argument that you're having with everybody about Jimmy Dore is proof of my that he tainted it.
I'm trying desperately. Can I tell you to stop talking about Jimmy Dore, because 15 million.
Again. So she's about to have a meltdown here. But again, like 40 minutes ago, she was saying Jimmy is central to this. It was all his idea. So 30 minutes ago, Jimmy Dore is the most important person, and you have to defend him. Now, 30 minutes later, oh, Jimmy Dore who? People's Party? What? There's a party going on? Where's the party? Am I invited to the party? Should I bring anything? Can I bring a friend to my party? What? The People's what? I've never heard of it. Right, and now, like, by the way, that's a very unfortunate freeze frame on her behalf. I'm sorry, Brie. I don't mean to, put you... Virgil, by the way. Look at Virgil's freeze frame. Look, I'm sorry. This is a really good moment. Okay, so you have Brie's freeze frame here. She looks like she's on a rampage. She's mad as hell. And then you got Virgil, who's like, oh, what have I done? Oh, who have I allied with? I'm regretting every moment of this. And then you've got Sam Seder, who's just looking down. He's like, oh... What is going on here? That is an excellent freeze frame. You know what? I gotta take a screenshot of this. This is just too good. This is too good. Holy fuck. Okay. Okay, so let's watch Brie meltdown.
Jimmy Dore is proof of my that he tainted.
I'm trying desperately. Can I tell you to stop talking about Jimmy Dore, because 15 million people lost their health insurance this past year.
And again, 15 million people lost their health insurance, and if you disagree with my strategy, again, an unfortunate freeze frame for her. If you disagree with my strategy, grr, you're against Medicare for All. She's doing the emotional tirade. Again, she wasn't mad before. You're telling me she's just all of a sudden she lost her cool? No. No. She wanted to distract. Oh, Boogaloo Boys, what? Move the subject, move the subject. People don't have health care. Why do you... Oh, they don't have health care, Sam. They don't have health care. Why don't you want them to have health care? They don't have health care. Oh, my God, they don't have health care. It's like, what, dude? Like, whoa, what?
And I can't get you to focus on that issue for more than 5 minutes.
Hey, no, because you want... Listen, I can focus on Medicare for All, but that's not the same as force the vote.
It is, Sam, because
no, it isn't. Only in your mind and maybe in some minds of others, but not in my mind.
See? See? She knows who she's speaking to. To Sam, to Virgil, this looks dumb. To us, this is telling. It's like, of course, that this is what... But to their audience, the people that watch this, like, how many likes does it have? Right? Like, let's try to look at likes. 4,000 likes. The people that watch this, to them, what's going through their brain is, okay, Brianna's getting mad at Sam. That means Brianna's right. That means Sam is being bad. And Brianna just said that Medicare for All is forced to vote, and they're the same, and Sam is the bad guy. So Brianna's getting mad at Sam. They're not friends. Sam's the bad guy now. He's the bad guy. Therefore, whatever Brianna Joyce Gray says is right. She's manipulating her viewers to unsubscribe from Majority Report, because look at Twitter. Everyone was like, I can't watch Majority Report. They're corporate sellouts all of a sudden. They're trying to do a mass exodus of subscriptions or whatever. It's not working, right? Because none of them were subscribed in the first place, right? But they're pretending to. This is all about wrapping her viewers up in a conspiracy network and trying to wedge them away from other podcasts. Again, if someone subscribes to 10 people, and let's say they give super chats, equally to all 10 of them, let's say, right? They don't have favorites. So let's say, all right, they subscribe to 5 of my buddies, but they unsubscribe from 8 of their former subscriptions. So now it's just me and my buddies, and they still equally distributing the super chats. So I'm getting a little bit of a boost on super chats because they unsubscribed from other people. And now the people that they're giving super chats to are my buddies, people that I agree with. That's what they're doing. They are lying to you in an effort to get money. And again, I'm a YouTuber. I know how much money we make. We make a lot of money. We make a lot of money. I know how much. She makes $35K a month on Patreon alone. Alone. Not including YouTube, not including anything else. Just $35K a month on Patreon alone. She is loaded. She is loaded. And she is using you and your anger about not having health insurance to profit off of your anger. That's what this is.
That you just admitted was a good tactic, but for Jimmy Dore, which could put us on a path.
I said the ask was not good, Brie. The ask. A losing vote for Medicare for All is not going to do what you think it's going to.
You just sat here and waxed philosophical about how important PAYGO is, and you're right. So why not ask to get rid of PAYGO entirely instead of these narrow exemptions for COVID and for
Again,
the
she's
green
lying. It's not narrow. It's not for COVID relief. She's lying to you. It's about things related to the disastrous effects of the COVID pandemic. It's not just for a relief bill that's going to happen tomorrow or next week or whatever, right? She is lying to you. She is lying to you, and you're buying it. Hook, line, and sinker, because you're a dumb motherfucker.
Everything that passes in the next 2 years is going to deal with COVID, and Nancy Pelosi is done after this.
Oh my goodness.
Brie, I have a question for you then.
Sure.
Is if force the vote is a tactical disagreement and not a plot by Jimmy Dore, then would you accept that supporters of Medicare for All might simply have other ideas of how to get to that point that do not involve the specific.
So Virgil's trying to damage control. It's like, okay, Brie is making my career a lot more difficult. I'm thinking about maybe just like going, like, wasn't Virgil Texas in hiding for a significant period of time? I think I remember people talking about that. He's thinking about going back and hiding. He's thinking, what did I do? Like, he's thinking, I'm in a contract. How do I get out of this contract? Who can I hire? Brie's a lawyer, so I need to get a good lawyer. So he's trying to, like, he's routing out his exit strategy. And then he's got his last-ditch effort. Okay, Brie, you're not as crazy as you sound right now, right? Walk it back a little bit, Brie. Come on. Come on. I don't want to hire a lawyer right now, Brie. You're not that crazy, right? And now Brie is just going to flip-flop again.
Tactic of withholding the vote.
Yeah, so we talked about this a lot, Virgil, and I think what a lot of people wanted to hear was what that is. So we, as you know, had Michael Leidy on the show, who was Bernie Sanders' healthcare outreach director. Yeah, National University has DSA affiliations as well. And he was very candid with us, and I really appreciated and respected his issue. And so my tempers really went up around this force of vote. Like, I got really invested when I asked the question, what's the alternative? And obviously he doesn't represent everybody, but we made a request for someone from the National Nurses Union to come on, and they declined. We have made all kinds of requests, and people have declined. So Michael Leidy came on, and what he argued was that we have a 20-year-ish so window to Medicare for All, which involves state-by-state Medicare for All, principally starting with California, and that he believes that when Gavin Newsom makes a presidential bid, he is basically going to ride the wave of Medicare for All in California to the White House and make that a principal issue. Now, reasonable minds can disagree on that. I personally don't find that to be an adequate plan, largely because it misses the opportunity that this historical moment of enormous cataclysmic healthcare failure in the United States of America in the middle of a global pandemic, which is likely to last 2 years, it misses the opportunity to leverage that to create the kind of political pressure on our elected.
They think that we can't, like, oh, the pandemic that's going to be going on for 2 years. Well, you can only do forcing the vote on day 374. At day 375, it's over. You missed your opportunity. Day 373, it's too early. You can't do it. If you do it at day 374, then it's done. But if you cannot wait until day 463. No. Because then I can't get my super chats.
Officials, so that it is toxic for someone like Joe Biden to say he would veto Medicare for All in the middle of a pandemic. It is toxic for only 118 Democrats to be co-signers of a bill when 88% of Democratic voters and a majority of Americans support Medicare for All. Right now we have poll numbers, but it is not politically toxic to oppose Medicare for All because we have no one in the media institutions or in the political institutions who are willing to point out why it is that our elected officials don't support this popular policy. The reason being rank corruption and being bought out by the pharmaceutical and healthcare industry. And that is an argument that is very difficult to foreground, but which in this moment, in this historical moment, I think we should be fighting like the Dickens to put.
Now again, I know how this game is played. Like, if y'all are just a chatter or whatever and you just watch people, you don't know how the game is played, okay? The whole idea is you say things that are blatantly true. Like, yes, people are losing their health insurance. Yes, most Americans want Medicare for All. That's all true. And they're using those not necessarily directly related, but kind of supporting evidence, but very poorly supported and very poorly persuaded, right? Arguments. But people are going to listen to that. And again, this is a lizard brain thing. People are going to go like, oh yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with that. And they're going to just like, it's like, for example, feeding like a pill to a dog. A dog's not going to pop a pill. You like, you know, you fucking put it in their dog food and they like take a swallow of the dog food and the pills inside of it. Or you wrap it up in a little piece of cheese and then they eat the cheese or whatever. You give it to them with a treat. That's what this is. They're treating you like a dog and you're falling for it. And you're just falling for it.
Front and center.
But do you think when the pandemic ends, that the logic for eliminating for-profit health insurance will also end?
No.
Because the fight for Medicare for All obviously began before the pandemic. It picked up momentum before the pandemic. It started pulling well before the pandemic. Should the fight still exist after the pandemic?
And you veto it during the pandemic.
And that's not to disagree. That's not to disagree with the point of that, yes, this is a critical juncture, but that the fight obviously won't end.
So the point, and I'm really glad you asked that because we talked so little about what these hearings could really look like. So part of the ask is for Medicare for All, because you can demand as part of your request the hearings on Medicare for All, and you can make requests about how long those hearings are, how many days they are, what the structure of them are. All of that is exclusively within Nancy Pelosi's purview. That's why this was such an interesting tactical pressure point, because Nancy Pelosi is invested in keeping the job. She's the one that's number one invested in that, as opposed to other things that she can't grant. Like she can't make Biden push through a $15 minimum wage tomorrow. She only has what's in her procedural capacity. And structuring the hearings on the vote is in her power. So I went back and I looked at the Medicare for All hearings that they had in 2019, and I thought, why weren't these a bigger deal? How could these be better? How could we maximize, to Sam's point about how hard it is to get media attention, how could we make this better and have more of an impact than it did the last time we tried this? And one thing that I noticed was that there was absolutely zero.
How could we make these Medicare for All hearings better? Oh, I know. I'm going to participate with Jimmy Dore's narcissistic grifter campaign. Great idea.
Conversation about corruption. They had all of these corporate moderate Dems and Republicans obviously as well lined up with their experts and their witnesses to explain why we couldn't have Medicare for All. And not a single question asked them how much they took from the various industries who have an interest in maintaining our for-profit healthcare system. As I watched, I went to Open Secrets and I Googled. Every time someone says something negative about Medicare for All, let me Google what their campaign donation profile is. And to a T, they were at the top of the donor list for private health insurance industry, the pharmaceutical industry. I think that now, as 15 million new Americans have just lost their health insurance, and everybody is really focused on how horrible that is when you're just trying to live your life and not die because you're forced to go work because you're an essential worker and they run out of PPE and all of this stuff, that they would no longer have the excuse that they used to rely on.
I love how, can we talk about how like Jimbo Dumbo fans, one of their most like used fucking like dumbass phrase, he's just a jack-off comedian, man. Why do you say, if he called you a bitch, he's just a comedian, man. And then those same people are always in my chat crying, oh, you're so mean. Why are you trying to claim that Virgil is secretly trying to run away? It couldn't possibly be a little comedic skit that you're doing as like a, you know, little comic relief or something as part of your personality and the way that you digest information, the way that you behave on stream. No, 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 no. You're so mean. Oh, why are you saying untruthful jokes about my favorite podcaster? Oh, no, I'm so offended.
Rely on what they relied on in 2019, which is that if you like your healthcare, you can keep it. We're in a unique historical moment where you cannot say people like their health insurance, which was the number one defense all of these corporatists used during the 2019 hearing. That's why I think this is a unique opportunity.
I mean, I think we're in a unique crisis. I'm not quite convinced that what you're saying will galvanize those things. I mean, I think, getting rid of Richie Neal who wouldn't allow people to even literally say the words Medicare for All at that hearing would also be very effective.
That was on my ask list.
Oh, if you have any small, minute strategical differences with me, I will cancel you. Oh, the only way we can get Medicare for All is to force the vote. And the vote was enforced. Therefore, we'll never get Medicare for All. Oh no! Oh, we gotta force the vote. Trust me, bro.
And well, I mean literally getting him out of office. I mean, you're not going to take. I mean, it's just simply not going to happen. That he's going to be removed from committee chair. I mean, again, like Nancy Pelosi could at one point just say, "I'm going to call your bluff," and I'm willing to go in front of. I'm willing to allow the media as it is. I mean, like, look, I think you and I agree. The way that the MSNBC and CNN and ABC and Fox would, who knows how they would do it, but they would all just make it look like you have 5 or 10 Democrats who are being obstructionist. AOC has got higher name recognition amongst Republicans. They hate her as well, if not more so than she does even amongst Democrats. I don't think that the popular opinion would go in the way that you think it would. We have a disagreement about that. I should also say in terms of like,
no, that is the crux of this whole thing. It's a strategy. That's the crux. They disagree on the strategy. It's over. The debate's over. It's over. It's done. It's done. It's over. Anything else is bunk. They disagree on the strategy. But notice that Brie can't handle that. So because Brie can't handle the fact that they just have a disagreement on the strategy, Brie's going to try to guilt trip Sam and everyone who agrees with him, which so far I do, though I would be a little bit more, forthright in my analysis. But Like, they're just going to try to gaslight everyone. It's like, oh, no, it's about Medicare for all, bro. Trust me, bro. We got to force the vote, bro. Come on, bro.
We want to talk about if people want to learn more about Medicare for All, the Healthcare Now, Nurses United, the DSA, Our Revolution, a bunch of these organizations have a conference this weekend, actually. You can go online and see it. I think some of the stuff might come out later. I'm not sure. But you can register for that. You can see these strategies. They're going to approach the states.
And everyone should watch that and weigh in.
Yes. And
everybody should do that.
Part of this is, a lot of people have been trying to push for this, single payer health insurance for, since Truman. And there are a lot of forces aligned. It's not just insurance. It's also like big hospitals and doctors.
It's more profitable to divide the left than run for Congress. I don't even know if it's just about profitability, but also just it's easy. It's easy to just sit in your house and make mad cash talking shit about people that are going out there and organizing at unions and strikes. That's easy. I think that's the number one thing here is it's an easy gig. Right? You bump up your numbers, you get some more fundraising, you expand your fundraising, you just sit back and just fucking do the same thing over and over and over again every day. You don't have to go, like, if you run for Congress, you actually have to do stuff. This is easy. What I'm doing right now, this is easy.
To a certain extent, too. And so, I think, like, from my perspective, the complete assuredness and the efficacy of the strategy and the sense that anybody didn't sign on to the strategy is a sellout, not concerned about Medicare for all, I think was, I don't think that was helpful. And
I want to be clear that I have never been.
No, I'm not saying that you did that.
You're talking to me. So look, if I could just say, I've never been assured about the strategy. I think a lot.
Did she say fucking? Hold on.
I want to be clear that I have never been.
No, I'm not saying that you did that.
No, but you're talking to me. So look, if I could just say, I have never been.
Did she say fucking?
No, I'm not saying that you did that.
No, but you're talking to me. So look, if I could just say, I've never been assured about the strategy, and I think a lot of us who are
this is really creepy. Holy shit! I can't.
Actively debating this issue on the left in good faith, we're clear that we don't know what the outcome is going to be, but we have a different assessment than you, Sam, of what the political costs are going to be. As Karl Rove has said,
I'm done.
Political goodwill is not something you can put in the bank and grow interest on. It's something that when you have it, you have to spend it, and we just have a disagreement about what this moment demands and what the opportunities in this moment are. Can I ask you, Sam? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think that's true. I mean, what the moment demands is, I think we're probably in agreement. But the strength of the tools that you want to use, I think we probably do disagree on that.
I want to ask you something. When AOC was running, I remember her saying, there was this interview she was doing with Justice Democrat, I believe.
Here we go.
She said she'd rather be a one-term congressperson.
Here we go. This is the same shit Nico House does, same shit Jimmy Dore does, same shit Nick Brana does. It's all the same shit, same talking points, same
fight.
Shit.
And know that she fought tooth and nail. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, I'm sorry. But then to make compromises. And
so I would rather get voted out and accomplish nothing but feel good about myself than continue to get voted for, accomplish a lot, and then also feel good about myself. What? But, I mean, I get that's something you say when you're like, you don't really know how things work and all that. I get it, sure. But my God.
It feels like the argument that is being made in defense of the squad more broadly in this moment is that it's better for them to protect themselves. I'm not saying you said this, but a lot of folks were saying, oh gosh, they'll lose their seats. They're going to be completely disempowered, et cetera, if they do anything antagonistic to the Pelosi. Do you think that the way that she and the squad have behaved suggests that she no longer feels like it'd be worth it to shoot her shot and be a one-term congresswoman? Do you think that she's changed?
I hope that that's not her perspective because, like I say, she was instrumental in getting rid of Elliot Engel. I think that's...
I don't know if I can get through this whole thing tonight, y'all. I might have to do this in chunks and do another one tomorrow. I keep pausing it. I know, right? I'm just saying. Maybe I'll try to... this is really... this is hard. This is very difficult, but maybe I'll do some more tomorrow.
Very consequential. I think that he
did a lot of that too. Huh? Elliot Engel was instrumental in getting rid of Elliot Engel.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I think if there's no Justice Democrats.
Hello, Nathan LeClaire. Here's some scratch from Wind River Rez. Now the dumb left can say you're in the pocket of Shoshone tribe. Hell yeah! I love being in people's pockets. Isn't that great? Like, for example, if you're watching on a phone, right? You can put your phone in your pocket with earbud in or something. And I'm in your pocket. Thank you, though. I appreciate that. I was trying to make a joke, and it wasn't that good.
No AOC. I think it's highly unlikely that that would have happened. And I think that frankly, the perspective that she would just, force the vote and then leave Congress. I mean, if that's what you're suggesting.
Well, no, I think it was ridiculous, the idea that her seat was at all in jeopardy because she did this. I think it was silly.
Her seat's not in jeopardy. What's in jeopardy is like the upside for that. It's contingent upon a lot of things that you're talking about, public opinion galvanizing around this vote and whatnot. And you and I have a different sense of what the costs are too. And I think, I may have a wider berth for accepting that someone could that idea is that someone else could perceive that idea is not as strong as I do. But I think that one of the things that you should always assess when you get into a fight is your chances of winning. And in every fight that you lose, there are costs, and there can also be benefits in losing fights. And I think my sense of what was to be lost was greater than what was to be gained. And I suspect that was also, the progressives' perspective. You don't think that the PAYGO exemption for the time being is relevant?
No, that's not what I said at all, Sam. That's not what I said.
Is as they could have gotten more.
Yes, they could have gotten more. PAYGO is incredibly important, which is why they should have gotten more.
Maybe I think this is going to be sufficient for the next 2 years at least, because I think we're going to be, like you say, dealing with this pandemic for a long time, and just about everything in our society is impacted by it. But I want them to continue to amass power. I don't think they have much. I don't think the left has much. I don't think that people are going to galvanize around the things that you think that they are, based upon just the fact that Joe Biden beat out the candidate for Medicare for All in the Democrat primary.
So what do you take from that? What do you take from the fact that Joe Biden won? Do you think that's an indictment of Medicare for All as a policy?
I don't think it's an indictment of Medicare for All, but I just don't think it motivates people as much as we would like it to.
Could it be that beating Trump was just a bigger priority than Medicare for All in the last election, and that it's actually not a referendum on people's preference for that policy?
I'm not saying it's a referendum on people's preference for that policy. I'm talking it is a measure as to what they are going, how much they're willing to trade off for that. For instance, gun control.
How many fucking substances has Virgil done throughout this debate? I know he's vaping. He's probably doing whippets in the corner. He's probably popping pills, and now he's like drinking a mysteriously colored liquid. Like, this guy is hopped up, and honestly, I don't blame him. Like, sometimes when I have to do this kind of shit, I hop myself up too. Hey, whatever you need. And I don't blame him, but I'm just saying it's pretty funny.
Gun control. It has enormous support, broadly speaking, but it's not people's first issue that they vote on.
Right, I agree. I think that what happened in the election was that beating Trump was people's number one priority. And for a lot of reasons we can talk about, including the media, the perception was that Joe Biden was the only person to beat Trump. So, I don't think that it's the fact that Biden won really says anything at all about the status of Medicare for All.
Well, it does say that it does say that people can find at least one.
Yes,
other
at least
thing that's more important.
I think that no longer exists.
Right, but maybe there could be others. I mean, look, what was the pushback when the Democrats passed the HEROES Act? What was the pushback to the...
Yeah, the debate should have been about the strategy, but you know what? The same thing happened when I debated Nico House. And when I've debated other dumb lefty people, the same thing. We go in to debate something, and then they just talk about how leftier they are than me. I went into a debate with Nico House to talk about force the vote, and it was all just about how, like, Jimmy Dore is a great person, and how AOC has unlimited power, and she's like a Dragon Ball Z character or something. Like, instead of actually talking about the strategy, it was about, 15 million people lost their healthcare. 500,000 people are dead. Pandemic. It's like, yes, we agree. If you watch my Nico House debate, one of the first things I said was, we agree on policy, can we just talk about strategy? And the whole debate was about him trying to pretend like he was the one who really believed in Medicare for All and other such adjacent stuff. And this is exactly what this debate is. And that's I know it's weird to draw parallels here, but it's not really that weird. I don't know. It's just like, these people are dumb. They're all working together, and they're trying to make money off of people. And I'm glad that I've got like 150 people-ish, I'm rounding up, I'm allowed, right, that are checking this out, because I appreciate that.
The COBRA subsidies. I mean, I talked about it for a long time, and I spoke to AOC about it. Actually, she came on my show and said that was horrible. It's garbage. And I can tell you, the response to that was crickets.
Yeah, there should have. I know that Jimmy Dore is very vocal about that as well. So I think that there needs to be more coordination across left media to drive the kind of enthusiasm which came very organically around force the vote.
We don't have that kind of strength. I got news for you. Like, this is honestly, it's like bald men arguing over a comb.
No, I disagree. And I said this to Jimmy Dore as he was critical of the HEROES Act, and I think that's right.
I'm talking the heroes.
Sorry, the HEROES Act. The issue is,
I mean, I watch Majority Report. Sam talks over Jamie, I would say, relatively frequently. I mean, it's not like super rude. He usually catches himself doing it, but he also talks over his guests. He talks over a lot of people. I do think he's going nicer on Brie than he would go on other people, I do think. I think at the express purpose of just trying to like discuss the idea, I think is being naive. And it's also, there's a different thing between doing a show that you do every day and doing a special debate that you're staying up for or whatever. So I think he's in like a different mode. But no, I mean, like, I'm just saying, I think that's just kind of his thing. I don't know.
CARES Act was
in the spring.
The idea that like someone can say in the chat that Brie is like being talked over, I think that's ludicrous. She is screaming, like interrupting everything Sam says, and then just trying to change the subject at every moment. Sam's trying to pin down the strategy, and then all she does is change the subject, and scream and change the subject. So the idea that someone's going to say that Sam's talking over Brie, I mean, that's just ridiculous. I think that's ludicrous.
But I am personally talking about the CARES Act. But
it's
regardless,
absolutely
I think that part of the
ludicrous.
issue is, I know personally, I'm like constantly looking, journalism is crap. I'm constantly looking to people like Rhoda and Dave Dan and like the few outlets that are covering, Stein at Washington Post, the few people who are covering what I need to know here or there. And then I try to amplify it to the best of my ability. But it feels like I'm just doing a one-woman kind of like impromptu comms task here. And it does feel like shouting into the void sometimes. And I think that there could be a lot more coordination to drive home certain messages. We're all talking about the same thing on the same day. We all get direct feeds from the reporters who are doing this stuff so we don't miss something. There's so much happening, something important doesn't fall through the cracks. And we talk about how to frame issues in a way that they're accessible and relatable to people. I think that even if you disagree with Jimmy Dore, we could have had a conversation even about how we could
I watched people
reframe
trying
the
to have a
issue.
conversation with Jimmy. I watched that. I saw that.
I'm not talking about you and I having a conversation or whoever else
Listen,
it was.
I'm totally open to that. I'm totally open to that idea. And all those reporters you talk about, I have a lot of respect for and do as much as I can to promote them.
Reminder, in case Sam wants to debate Brie again, I mean, hey, Nico and I agreed on a second debate, and he ran out like a pussy. So, hey, it's probably not going to happen if you want to debate again on something else. It's probably not going to happen.
I got this. Rhoda's on a list right now. We're going to book.
Sam, if I could jump in right here as the kind moderator, I think something you just said was very important. You described the salience of issues among voters. And we all saw Bernie lose the Democratic primary, even though most of the primary voters, when asked about the issues, agreed with him. And your notion is that, well, they simply felt that.
Yeah, Brie, again, Alex, that's a really good point. The reason why people think Sam's talking over Brie is Brie uses underhanded phrases like, can I just, or if I could just finish my... Yes. Again, I'm telling you, these people are media trained. Brianna Joy Gray is from a relatively wealthy family. She was a corporate lawyer. She was the press secretary for a front-running presidential campaign. She's got credentials. She's been trained. Again, also, Nico House. I know I keep doing this, but, he also have these credentials of being trained. Katie Halper, the Gray Zone, all of those people that are pushing for, they've been trained. They are media-savvy people. Jimmy Dore's been in media for 20 years. Right? I've been in media for fucking... I don't even consider myself in media, to be honest. I mean, but like, I just do YouTube shit, right? But like, these people have been on professional media for like decades, a lot of them. They are trained. They know what they're doing. So like, again, when Brie, like, and I'm not trying to make it sound like they're super sinister. I think it's a lot of it is just like self-preservation. They just want to keep their cash. They get paid to do certain things. They get a lot more money if they say certain things, and they're just kind of like going with the flow. And I think that that's the danger. You can't go out and say we need to redistribute the wealth and donating to politicians is evil when you sway your opinion when someone gives you a $20 super chat. And I've seen Jimmy Dore read super chats from Trump supporters and go like, oh yeah, hell yeah, thank you, and just treat them normally. And like, and that's it. And then he sways his commentary to the right. And that's what all these people are doing. They're getting paid to promote something, and they're just going with the flow. They're letting money corrupt them.
Beating Trump was a more salient issue, and that they perceived Biden as the better candidate. So with that in mind, if you want better electoral outcomes for them, then shouldn't the effort be to change which issues are most salient?
In terms of like what people what they perceive as being most salient?
Yeah.
I mean,
perceptions, right?
Yeah, I think that is I think that's hard to do. I mean, like I've watched. I mean, look,
you have to tell Brie that.
That's what we're trying. That's
no,
what
no,
we're trying.
I know, but I'm saying that maybe if I want different outcomes for those issues, maybe there is other tactics that can be pursued. I mean, because and I think the way to get to that is through more through grassroots organizing. And I'm not a grassroots organizer. I do think that there needs to be, more organizational strength on the ground. But then I also do think that what you need to do is literally get to a critical mass of lawmakers who support these positions. And we're just simply not there yet. I mean,
right, but how do we get there? So I'm not a grassroots organizer. You're not a grassroots organizer. Us sitting on our platform saying we need more grassroots organizing is, I would argue, less effective than using our platforms for what media. What we can do.
I think one of the ways you do that is, frankly, you support organizations that are primarying Democrats. I think that's incredibly helpful. I think like what we're seeing out of Chuck Schumer right now is just out of a fear of a primary. I think what we've seen in New York, we got rid of the IDC because of primaries. I think primarying Democrats. I mean, I'm in favor of primarying Democrats. Every single Democrat. And, at one point it becomes like, do you want to deploy all your resources on something that's not going to be effective or someone who's not as high on the list? But I think that primaries are a huge mechanism. And
again, just notice, I'm probably going to wrap up soon. I think I'll do the other half of this tomorrow night, if that's okay. Because it's getting to my bedtime, and, I'm sorry about that, but I haven't eaten dinner yet. And so I'm probably going to wrap this up kind of soon and then do the other half tomorrow night. But what I want to say is, if anyone has questions for me or whatever, thank you for watching. I appreciate this. I love doing the popcorn bullshit. I love this. This is great. But again, I do a show in the morning. I'd recommend watching the VOD if you miss it. I try to talk about some things that I find important. And again, I mean, yes, the popcorn meme shit is fun, but like, I want to try to educate my audience a little bit. I want to try to have people think a little bit more like I do. And so, yeah, popcorn's good, but you got to have something else besides popcorn. But anyway, I'm going to watch a little bit more of this, maybe like 5 more minutes or so, and then I'm probably going to head out.
In my mind, the best vehicle I've seen for primarying Democrats in over 20 years is the Justice Democrats. And this is a good example right here. Pop that up.
I want to talk about, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to ask you what you thought about this.
I absolutely agree. And I think the key,
So, she's trying to play a gotcha here, and it's so disingenuous, right? Sam is talking about actual organizational apparatuses being used to actually mobilize people that are organized and agree on specific actions to do things that will actually quantifiably help the American people over a period of time. Justice Democrats led to AOC, led to Jamal Bowman, etc. That's what he's trying to say. And Brie is just going to put up a tweet adjacent to something, try to rope him into agreeing with it, and just use this as like, then why don't you agree with forcing the vote? Come on, bro. We got to force the vote.
I think the key, I think the misinterpretation of this is that sometimes it's also not. She's right sometimes. And I think it's, I
appreciate how frustrating it was for folks, because literally we were told, I understand you can say it's just conditional on the context, not a fair argument, it's completely fair. But there are people who made this argument for the vote who were told, no, you're just stupid, that's wrong, that's a bad tactic. If you don't win Medicare for all, then there's no point of it. There's no point in getting someone on the right.
So she's talking about, people in our movement were told this by people on your side. Again, trying to lump other people with Majority Report. Right, with TYT, same time. TYT and Majority Reporters, like, well, why are they what? Like, those are just people independent from each other. It's not a team sport. And it's like, there's random people on Twitter saying this, right? But when it's the people in the movement for a People's Party, who? People's what? There's a movement for what? When it's Jimmy Dore, it's like, it's not about Jimmy Dore. Again, when it's useful to her to change, she flip-flops back and forth. Like, if I wanted to, I could count every time she's been on both sides of this issue. It's been at least 4 or 5 times that she's been on both sides of this issue. And the debate's only been on for about 90 minutes.
Record, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I actually hate this. I actually think it makes everyone look wrong.
You hate
the last sentence here. Sometimes we go over the historical record, let future generations know we did everything we could, which is like nothing.
Well, that's what
I agree. That's the weakest reason to do it. That's just sort of self-satisfaction, and I think that's the most vacuous of reasons to do that. But really, what she's saying is, on some level, it's like, one is to get a sense of where people stand on this. Now, in the context of Medicare for all, we do know where they stand. I mean, that's built into the thing, right? We want to get those. We can almost exactly.
To me, that was never my favorite part of the argument. I'm a comms person. I care about the comms piece, but I mean,
I'm a comms person. That's why the last time I was the comms person for a major presidential campaign that was the front runner, that instead of using our momentum as winning the first 3 primaries, I talked about Castro all week. Now, again, I'm not saying she's I'm just saying, like, her previous resume is that she lost. And there's a lot of people. And I'm not saying that's all her. I'm just saying that maybe she's not someone that should be spearheading or leading something right now. That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't want to lead anything. Right? I don't want to be the leader of some fucking, forcing the vote campaign. I'm just an observer. I'm a commenter. I don't want to be at fucking step 1. I just want to chill and do my own thing. But Brie is trying to, and Jimmy is also, and all these people are trying to be they're trying to step up, and I'm a leader, and I'm taking advantage of the moment. They've got main character syndrome. They think they're more important than everyone else. And I'm like, chill. Because you're not. I'm not. None of y'all are the main character. We can't do anything. We are powerless. Well, in the sense of getting Medicare for all tomorrow, we're powerless. We can maybe have strategies to get there in 5 years, 10 years, sure. But right now, it's just not going to happen. And again, it's interesting that a lot of these people in the Force the Vote crew simp for Tulsi Gabbard. Jimmy Dore does, Nico does. A lot of those people do. The Convo Couch, Gray Zone, they're all Tulsi Gabbard people. It's weird, right? That when we actually had a chance of getting Medicare for all in the form of Bernie Sanders, a lot of these people were going with Tulsi Gabbard. Now all of a sudden, they're the ones telling us who and who isn't, or who and who are not real Medicare for all advocates. They were supporting an enemy just a year ago, an enemy they were supporting. And then Brie comes in with the Bernie cred, and that's supposed to be the redemption for them. Oh, well, Brianna Joy Gray agrees with me. She was on the Bernie campaign. That's how they redeem themselves. That's how they get past their bad credibility of working for, or, simping for Tulsi Gabbard. Nico House literally worked for her campaign or whatever, right? So it's like, that's how they try to, oh, no. Now we agree, Bernie's credibility. That was like, that's the thing. That's why Brie is here. That's her role. She is lending the Bernie 2020 credibility to the People's Party, to just like angry people that are anti-electoralism, to people that don't want to mobilize, even in mutual aid. They don't want to do mutual aid. They just talk about their podcasts. They want to demobilize, delegitimize everything, all for their own podcast. And she's lending that Bernie credibility to it, and that's why it's so despicable.
Says sometimes these votes create real political pressure that forces development. Now, sometimes they do, but she's talking about impeachment, and the impeachment vote is a big wedge issue for Republicans. I think she was talking about the impeachment.
Yeah, this is all about impeachment.
And I think it's going to create a bunch of wedge issues. In fact, I think McConnell, you can actually see what happened with McConnell. McConnell put out a trial balloon in the New York Times, and when the New York Times is reporting first on what McConnell's thinking, I think you get a good sense of what he's doing. He's trying to assess whether it makes sense for him to ditch, how much he can afford to ditch Donald Trump, and he found out he couldn't, and which is why there's been this sort of like dramatic shift. He found out after those 11.
All right, again, 125, we'll call it 126. If y'all want me to, and again, a lot of people seem like they want me to, and maybe I'm just uniquely positioned to have an analysis on this that people like. I don't know. Also, it might be that I'm the only one willing to do this, and like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. But if y'all want me to do so, again, I'll finish this tomorrow night. I feel like I've summed everything up. Like, I feel like I would just be repeating myself if I were to go through the rest. But I know that the question and answer portion gets actually really disgusting. And I do kind of want to go over it. But again, I'm getting kind of tired right now. So if y'all want me to do a part 2, I'll do a part 2 tomorrow. And if you don't want me to do a part 2, you can feel free to let me know as well. But, yeah. It's about halfway through. I think Sam leaves at around the 3-hour mark. Yeah, so it's like, maybe I'll watch the rest. But, like, we're about halfway through. So. But, yeah, it's about my bedtime, and I haven't eaten dinner yet. So, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate the super chats and all. Like, I mean, I know, you know, it's like, y'all keep watching this stream, and I don't know. This week, I'm going to do a little bit more because I'm going to have a little bit more time on my hands. So I'm going to do a lot, actually, this week. I'm planning on having, like, a nice... I'm going to do a lot of, like, mental reset, like, refreshing things. Because I'm in, like, an environment I'm not typically in, right? So it's like, I'm going to, start getting, Well, I have a very lackadaisical exercise routine, but I've got less to do, Like, I've only got 2 of my screens. I can't really play games too well. You saw me play Doom 2, right? I don't have a controller with me, so I can't play anything else. I'm in a new space, I've got some books with me. I'm going to read a little bit. I'm going to try to do some more streams, and I'm going to try to get on top of that. Thank you, JL, $10. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But yeah, again, my normal show is, at 10 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to watch the morning show, which is my regular show where I do, all kinds of stuff, 10 a.m. Eastern. If I do another one of these, it might be at like 5 tomorrow night or 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm in the Eastern time zone, so. So, my brother left today, Mila. He had to go home, so that's why I'm going to do more this week. Because he's not here, so we were watching movies and staying up all night and doing that kind of shit. And it's like, well, I'm going to get back on my routine, and I'm going to spend this next week kind of just doing a lot of mental reset stuff. It's good for the mental health, I might start meditating again. I used to meditate a little bit, but I kind of like stopped for, a while, maybe like a month or 2. So I might start getting back into meditation a little bit. Sometimes I do on and off, but it really is like a benefit if you do it consistently. Like if you're only meditating 5 minutes, like every couple days, that's not going to do much, right? Miss Contria 777, $10. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you do. I appreciate that. I do. Another motherfucking episodic installation in the bag. Damn right. Damn right. All right. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good one. I'll see you again. in about 12 hours, 12 and a half. So we'll see how that goes. This is the part where, yeah, I'm doing the thing. You know, the thing, right?
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the you know the thing.
Honestly, Sam, if I could just get this sentence out. We can talk about Jimmy Dore can go and kill 15 kids tomorrow, and I still believe in force the vote.
They're not accountable to anyone. They're not accountable to anyone. I get 10 to 12 million views a month, and they won't come on and address my progressive audience. They won't come on and address Brie's audience, or Katie's audience, or Justin Jackson, or you. They are not accountable to us. They're accountable to whoever the fuck themselves. Let's not kid ourselves. As Chris Hedges taught us a long time ago, the people attracted to politics are the most mediocre of people. They're not your friends. They are elected servants. Start fucking treating them that way.
I hear brownies seconding you in the background.
They're not your fucking friends. They're the people standing in between us and fucking healthcare. They're putting their fucking personal position ahead of that. Don't fucking forget that. I'm talking about anybody who's a progressive in Congress who isn't endorsing hashtag the vote. All those motherfuckers who didn't show up today at our town hall. Every fucking one of them is selling you out and canceling you for their own personal gain.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
Honestly, Sam, if I could just get this sentence out. We can talk about Jimmy Dore can go and kill 15 kids tomorrow, and I still believe in force the vote.
And by the way, I don't think that's some grand conspiracy. I think this is sort of what power is. I mean this at a sort of high level. Power is. I mean this at a sort of high level.
Get your words straight, Jack. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the you know the thing.
Not good. Believe me, not good. And where it should have stopped is at the deal standpoint, when they thought about it.